that is Musalia Mudavadi, has said that the government will invest in a golf development center and public golf course at the Kasarani Sports Complex. Mudavadi made the remarks when he represented President William Ruto at the awards presentation ceremony of the 54th edition of the Magical Kenya Open at the Muthaiga Golf Club.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi today said that the government remains committed to ensuring that the Magical Kenya Open profiles Kenya as a preferred sports tourism destination. Mudavadi was representing President William Ruto at the awards presentation ceremony of the Magical Kenya Open at the Muthaiga Golf Club, added that this is being done as part of the Sports Safari initiative.
Kenya boasts of over 40 golf courses across the country and in different regions, with unique and stunning landscapes, bountiful wildlife, and welcoming and happy people. We welcome all golf enthusiasts for golf safaris, where you get to enjoy great rounds of golf and get the opportunity to tour the country and experience our wildlife and beaches.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, who was speaking on behalf of Youth Affairs Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba, said that there will be continued investment in sports development.
We are deliberately investing in grassroots youth talent development to support our young people train and compete at the highest levels of their chosen sport. Today, young Mutahi will walk away with a good amount of money. That has been announced already, so you know this, it's not a secret. After making the cut here, so you can imagine if he went beyond the cut.
This year's event was won by Spaniard Jorge Campillo, who had rounds of 69, 68, 63 and 66 for a total of 18 under par 266, and he takes home 43.75 million shillings.
It was one of the best rounds of my life, I could say. I played beautifully and I was able to make all the putts that I need to, and I'm be able to finish with 4 birdies in a row to give me the chance to win today.
I hold the putt in round 2, which was amazing. And I just kept my head together and I took all the positives. And it was an exciting week, and definitely will live in my mind for a very long time.
Another Magical Kenya Open has come to a close with some dramatic end to the championship. But the tough question is still going to the Kenyan professionals. When will we have more of them getting a share of this huge prize fund that is at this tournament? My name is Daniel Wahome.
Thank you, Daniel Wahome. We now go to Japan, where Kenya's Ruth Chepngetich retained the Nagoya Women's Marathon title after clocking 2 hours, 18 minutes and 8 seconds. The 2019 World Marathon champion went into the race aiming to claim back-to-back wins and improve her own course record. While she was unable to beat the 2 hours, 17 minutes and 18 seconds she ran win in Nagoya last year, Chepngetich claimed a dominant victory, winning by more than 3 minutes ahead of Japan's duo, that is Ayuko Suzuki and Honami Maeda, who completed the podium dash. The Nagoya Women's Marathon offers the world's highest first prize of 32 million shillings. For the first time in 4 years, the race witnessed a big field after the Japanese government finally lifted its COVID-related border restrictions last year.
Good, and it was not easy for me to run alone, but I'm happy and I'm proud of today's results.
Now, Ahmed May of Bandari Sports Club emerged the winner of the 25 meters freestyle category for the boys 9 years after clocking 18.13 seconds as the curtains came down on the CASA Junior Swimming Championship at the Aga Khan Academy in Mombasa. Meanwhile, Coast's Amateur Swimming Association, that is CASA, has officially changed its name and will now be known as Mombasa County Swimming Association, in compliance with the Sports Act.
Swimmers, you can come out of the pool with 5 Ahmed Hawi of Bandari Sports Club easily won the 25 meters freestyle category for boys 9 years after clocking 18 minutes 13 seconds, followed closely by his clubmate Vihan Majitia in 18 minutes 20 seconds, while Damian Hawi of Mombasa Parents Sports Club finished third in 21 minutes 58 seconds. In boys 11 years 50 meters freestyle category, Jeremy Mwamisi of Mombasa Parents Sports Club emerged the winner in 33 minutes 8 seconds, with Muhammad Shalo and Ameya Amini, both of Aga Khan Academy, finished second and third in 39 minutes 20 seconds and 39 minutes 37 seconds respectively. In the 50 meters freestyle event for boys 10 years, Abdul Kadir of Mombasa Aquatic Sports Club won after returning 34 minutes 27 seconds, as Ethan Vavi of Bandari Sports Club settled for second position in 37 minutes 30 seconds, while Samuel Daudi of Aga Khan Academy finished third in 41 minutes 37 seconds. Meanwhile, Coast Amateur Swimming Association has officially changed its name and will be known as Mombasa County Swimming Association. The association's development head, Sahila Runani, who is also an executive committee member, said they have changed the name to comply with the Sports Act.
We are unveiling our new name and logo here today, and we are from now on going to be known as the Mombasa County Swimming Association. This is a very new chapter for us and a very proud moment as an association and executive committee member.
Now, league leaders Arsenal resorted to their 5-point advantage at the top of the Premier League in outstanding fashion with a ruthless 3-0 victory at Fulham. Meanwhile, Manchester United was held to a barren draw with Southampton.
Martinelli, almost perfect.
Hakuna gasi wako naye hapa. Ni kukula mshahara ya bure tu. Mimi manager nafanya gasi ya manager na bucha nioshe vyombo.
Unajua mimi hata mama yangu aliambiwa alisha akili peke yake. Kitu ninaisha mama kaya na sina kitu tisa nini hapa hivi.
Ni nini mbaya na wewe?
Ita ambulance. Ita basi mapoto. Ndio baka tukutuku.
Kama ulikuwa na garage na sisi yake. Sote tufukuza sisi tukienda tukuache na amani.
Ya.
Ni nini?
Kumbe hiki kitu ni TV tu gaki.
Inakaa hivi wewe si TV labda
unaona wata ile mesa wanasomea taarifa iko hapa ndani.
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of
week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
There you are, Miguel. Are you hiding from me? He made a fool out of me. I thought he was my boyfriend, but no. He was going out with one of my friends as well, and at the same time.
What? No. Sorry, Marisol, but it's hard for me to believe what you just said.
Well,
Since we're talking about the past and about that missing boy, if my calculations are correct, that boy would actually be about the same age as you are.
Ruben, I honestly don't know why we can't be friends. Just like we used to be when we were young and when we didn't used to fight a lot and we could hang out together. Ruben, I really want to be your friend.
Put your rage aside and forget the rancor. Because it will end up destroying you as a whole, darling. I beg you.
That's where we end the news this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to start your day with us here on Good Morning Kenya. But stay with us. If you can, Victor Law is on standby together with our guests. Remember, it's Monday. That means it's Eye on Politics, where we bring you the latest discussions on matters politics. So until next time, from me, it's goodbye for now. Stay tuned again for the rest of the day for our subsequent bulletins to get more updates in as far as news is concerned. Victor, it's over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Marie. And now, let me get you through the front page of our local dailies. But before that, let me just tell you that my guest already in studio. I have got Crispus Wathimba, who is a political analyst and engineer by profession. Welcome to the studio, Crispus.
Thank you, Victor.
As well as Arnold Maliba, who is a policy expert as well as political expert and political analyst already in studio as well. Call him Crispus. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much.
Just how was your weekend?
For me, it was an exciting weekend. I had a few businesses to attend to, and I was successful. So I'm looking forward to bearing the fruits of my engagements over the weekend this week.
That is great. Yeah, that's a man speaking.
But the only challenge I had is that the Kenyan shilling versus the dollar is really a big problem, because it was a foreign transaction I was handling, and it was a bit of a challenge just to access.
And perhaps this is going to
Forex.
have a ripple effect even on our local commodities.
It is already having a ripple effect. I'm in the oil sector in terms of the kind of work I do, and you go to some of the fuel stations and you don't have fuel because the oil marketeers are not able to buy the commodity because they don't have access to Forex. So we have a serious challenge as a country, and yet our neighbors are sitting comfortably on huge reserves for foreign currency. So you ask yourself, what is the problem with this country?
Man-made or it's worldwide, Arnold? Because at the end of the day, Kenyan shilling is suffering against the dollar.
Well, I did very little official stuff over the weekend. I did a lot of family time. I met friends, I met relatives I met about 3 years ago. I dedicated my Saturday to just trying meet a number of guys because I work outside the country a lot of times. So from DRC, I'd been away for a while. So I came back home and I needed to just plug in. And while I was away, I remembered a number of people I had not met. But then the issue around foreign currency, when like those of us who go across the border, you realize that the Kenyan shilling has actually dipped against the Tanzanian shilling, even against the Ugandan shilling, especially if you have to do transactions along the way. I happen to do small kiosks here, and one in Dar es Salaam, another one in DRC. The one in Mogadishu I closed because it was a little bit difficult. But I think the economy tanked sometimes back, and what we did for a lot of time was to just freeze and sustain it. And every time you have got nothing, you try and reach out to a financing solution to just keep us up there. And for all there is, and looking at how other people have done, my little economics tells me that we actually should go the way we are going until we get a normal equilibrium. If that is the bottom we get to, then we start to build back better. Because between where we are and some bottom that we do not know where it is yet, there is a suspension in there. And as much as we try to balance ourselves here, it might not be sustainable. So there's much to go about that. But over and above, I think it's an issue that we need to talk about boldly, that, what answers the most foreign exchange. For the first time, it was not tea. It was not any product any hard product. It was actually remittances from the people who are working abroad. And surprisingly, you know, a lot of the people who go abroad, especially in the West, are normally the best that we have in the country. But for the first time, people from the Gulf, in Asia, Far East, actually were the highest contributor to foreign remittances. And remember that foreign remittance was actually the highest. And what have we done, for example, to ensure that the best that we export out there, which is HR, how have we ensured that the best product that we actually send out there is well taken care of? Because literally, if you're exporting cars, you know that countries that do that, they put a lot of that in there. So of course, it's good we have got a Department of Diaspora Affairs, but we've not done so well to ensure that that one commodity that we put out there, HR, is well maintained and taken care of while it's out there.
Perhaps
that while people go out
to do more.
That while people go out there, they never meet the embassies and consulates that are actually ready to deal for them. Yet this, if you look at last year, and us the most when it came to foreign exchange. So I think we've got work to do. We also need to reorient ourselves, because unlike our neighbors, our agricultural land is so small. When I was in school, it was 16%. Now, the data I look at is about 8% of that land is arable. Our neighbors do not need even to do proper plowing before they can actually harvest. You just burn land and plant in, and you still harvest. You can't do that even in the best of our land here. Try that in Kitale and you wouldn't get even anything.
Absolutely. All right, let's handle that. We've got just to alert you that we also have Stephen Mogako, who is a member of Parliament, West Mogirango, joining us live from Mombasa. Shortly, we'll have him here via link from Mombasa. But gentlemen, it's good. Whatever you did all over the weekend is also a great. You did business, that's manly. You also met friends, that's also manly. All right, so let me take you through the front page of our local dailies here. Ruto, no turning back on IEBC jobs. Ruto, no turning back on IEBC jobs. Raila is planning major protests to push president to change tack on electoral chiefs, food imports, but Ruto is playing hardball. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. Move out ahead of bandit crackdown, warns CS. They had 24 hours that lapses at exactly 8:30 this morning. And if you are caught in those areas, then according to the CS, you will be considered as enemy of the state. Bandit. Regions where families, we have got 27 regions where families have been ordered to vacate by today ahead of major security operation to flush out bandits. We have got 135 Kenyans so far killed by bandits in Baringo, Laikipia, Samburu, Turkana, West Pokot, and Elgeyo Marakwet counties in the last 7 months, and the government says it's enough. And 20 is now the number of security officers who have been killed in bandit attacks over the same period. And now the government says it's all systems go. So if you are in those regions, please move out. Front page of the People Daily. What's on the front page of the Star? UDA launches big war against Raila campaign. President Ruto's allies' clarion call is that there is no room for negotiation with the opposition. Leaders marshaled to train guns against Azimio boss. Discredit mass action. Crispus, at the end of the day, who should be worried? Azimio or Kenya Kwanza?
I think the person who should be worried most is the Kenyan, because when two big people are fighting, it's the ground that suffers. And in this case, it's us Kenyans who are going to suffer the most.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, is that when these two forces will come to a point where they may want to discuss or resolve these issues, they are the ones who will be the greatest beneficiary. All the destruction they'll have done will affect us as Kenyans, because our economy will be destroyed, our social fabric as a country will be destroyed. The policies that we have, the progressive policies that we have achieved will not have done so. So my biggest worry is as Kenyans, where is our place in all this? Because there seems to be, everybody has a strong position on an issue, but at the end of the day, nobody is talking to Kenyans. What is your interest as a country? What is more important? Because at the end of the day today, whether Raila has demonstration from Monday to Friday, what concerns most of us is, are we able to provide a meal on the table?
Yeah.
Our kids who are, for example, in JSS, are they going on with their education as they are required? Are we able to access fuel as a country, because we need to move from point 1 to point 2? Are we having a proper and independent IEBC that we can trust in the next general election? Are we having the right men and women taking office as others are being kicked out? You know, so those are some of the issues that as a country we need to be more concerned with, other than the interest of politicians, because as you focus more on the politicians, we lose sight on who is more important. The greater good belongs to the people of Kenya, not with the politicians.
Yes, the politicians are doing their job, Arnold, but do Kenyans have not had a platform to express their desire and their demand from the Azimio to the president, or memorandum from one region to the next? But Kenyans have not given their point of concern as far as, you know, all these things are concerned.
I think Kenyans have had an opportunity to express their mind, or rather express their opinion, and speak they have actually loudly. Just recently we were in elections about 6 months ago. That was an opportunity to actually speak out, and they did. What then is required of politicians is that they also need to heed that particular voice. What is happening is that Kenyans have spoken, but a section of politicians do not want to listen to what Kenyans said, and I'm talking about both sides, because Kenyans gave a section of politicians a mandate to work. Are they working? Did they listen to Kenyans who gave them the mandate? And there are those who are told wait, and have they listened? For example, I do not think that they have. You've said that politicians are doing their work. They are not. Is politics disruption? Is politics noise? Is politics tankering the economy? Is politics what we are seeing? Honestly, politics is much more than that. Even though these are some of the tools that are employed in politics, I do not think that what we are seeing is politics by excellence. Even in real politics, if you are to do political science 101, still this is not it. There's too much noise. For example, let's talk about mass action now that we are already into it. Mass action as a tool, what exactly, how does it work? Because when I inject you with a certain medicine, there is a place that medicine has to travel to, do something, and then there will be effect that answers to whatever we are trying to treat. So for mass action, there are two obvious places. Number one, it affects the economy, and you hope that once it affects the economy, a government of the day is not able to raise enough taxes to run their affairs, and then they will actually be forced to the table. Secondly, it could and can and actually has affected peace. Once it does that, then the government of the day is unable to govern effectively, and therefore forced on the table. So through and through, as much as people would cheer for mass action as a tool that of course is allowable in law to some extent, not entirely, because you see, we are here talking about mass action. What does a normal person understand of it? Remember, all the thugs in the villages and everywhere else think that this is a golden opportunity. The other day, about 100 young people walked through Ngong Road, came through Valley Road, robbing people in the name of mass action, breaking windows and everything else. So exactly, you know, how do you define that? So it's easy for politicians to hide behind legalities and terms as they are, but what is the net effect? So, like he said, the people who are going to actually be hurt most are Kenyans. So the same people in whose name these things are being executed are the people who are going to be hurt most. So I think there's still so much to actually engage, and I think as a nation and the people, we need to call ourselves to parade and ask ourselves questions. Is this how we want to go? Victor, I want to ask you this. You should be asking the question, but I'll ask you this. What exactly should Raila and Ruto be talking about? For heaven's sake. Because there is a set framework passed by parliament, elected by a people, on how you go about bringing, or rather coming up with the IBC selection committee, right? The highest price that we have ever seen for flour was in 2008. The highest time we ever have seen fuel going up there was actually in 2008, where a litre of fuel was going for about 240. That is their own record. It wasn't William Ruto on set then. Last year with subsidies, flour was about 230, 250. Yeah. Cooking oil was about 500. Today, without subsidies, we are talking about 180 for flour, 180 to 150 depending on what brand and if you're going to the posho mill directly, and 250. But still, politicians are selling the narrative that things are so high from where they are. Of course, the cost of living, even if prices were low and you do not have that money, it's not going to work for you. But then, are what politicians selling the real thing? When eventually, for example, William Ruto sits down with Raila, will all of us be there? You know, the worst thing is that somebody is actually pushing this, knowing too well that on 20th, somebody will die. You know, we do not want to talk about these things, yet we know that that's every time we've gone.
I know the way you're putting it. I mean,
as in, we know too well that people will go out of their way. We will have criminals and other. You have no way of prefecting this thing. And that along the way, some policemen will actually lose their cool or probably be hurt. And in the process, we could lose life on that particular day. But they are going across the country with complete abandon and hiding behind legalities and everything else. And when things go, I just want to ask you a final question. For example, we know of Baby Mutinda. We know of the other kid in Baby Pendo.
Baby Pendo, right.
When there was a handshake for over 5 years, did we talk about it?
That's the
antagonists were there, were together talking about peace and everything else. For 4 years, did we reach out to Mama Pendo? Did we reach out to Baby Pendo? Did we even talk to Msando's children and wife and settle that? For 4 years, we were unable to honestly reach out to Msando's problems and know exactly what happened? Or we want to use that now going forward? Yet we've had an opportunity for 4 years to actually have settled that and address that. So you see, the hypocrisy in these things is just up there, and we call it politics. That's not politics.
Crispus, at the end of the day, Kenya, you know, a majority of people claim that we've matured politically and democratically, yes. Have we?
How can we say we've matured politically and democratic? Well, the same faces that were fighting for democracy in 1992 are the same faces fighting for democracy today. If we had matured, then we need to have seen new faces, a new narrative, a new ideology being advanced for. Today we have 135 Kenyans who've died because of banditry in the North Rift. Why are we not seeing mass action being taken to North Rift? So that we can say, to compel the government and the bandits to stop fighting. Where is the mass action in other areas? Where
that is the same question Arnold is asking. What should be the politicians talking about?
Because our democracy has remained the same.
Yes.
Our so-called democracy is still the same. It has not yet matured. If we have matured our democracy, then the kind of things we discuss here, the kind of issues media discusses, the kind of discussions we are having in our homes would be different, but it has remained the same. Today we have issues about freedoms that we are enjoying, but I think we are abusing those freedoms. And we may force any administration to start limiting those freedoms, and then there'll be more problems. We need to start understanding as a country that, yes, we are a democratic country, but as we continue misusing those freedoms, we will force this government and any other government in the future to start curtailing those freedoms, and we'll get into a worse position. So we need to start advancing a narrative that is progressive. Right now, our biggest problem as a country is the economic well-being. Livelihoods are being lost every day. Businesses are not able to sustain themselves. People are not able to provide for themselves. Kids are not able to get quality education. We don't know the situation in hospitals. We have not even understood what is the situation in those hospitals. We have a drought. So our food basket is a big problem. Why are those issues not being discussed in a sober manner?
Gentlemen, let me ask you this question, and both of you are going to answer, even you, Arnold. Imagine all of you sitting in that advisory council, you know, for both the opposition, Raila Odinga, and of course the president, and you're given a platform to advise the two gentlemen on what should be the priority. What should you present to the president and Raila Odinga as a priority on what they should be discussing currently? Starting with you, and then Arnold.
Number one, Kenya Kwanza had a plan, and we have elected them to be in power, meaning they have a plan to implement. So for me, I'll go to the plan and tell Ruto, this is your plan. What are you having a challenge in terms of implementing this plan? How can we help you to implement that plan? Then we go to Raila. You are not the president. You are not in the administration, meaning you are supposed to check this administration to correct it where it has gone wrong. What ways are you going to use to correct that administration? We have a parliament, we have the Senate, we have parliament. Why can't you go there and discuss these issues? Because that's where we elected you to go and represent us. We did not elect you to go to mass action or in the streets. We elected you to sit down in parliament, both Senate and National Assembly and county assemblies, and argue issues. Come up with laws that can be able to help advance Kenyans' economic progress. Come up with laws that can check corruption and other ills that are in government. Come up with laws that can be able to make sure that Kenya as a country will remain in the same position we are in the time Ruto took over, or even advance further. We want you guys to use the platform that we have given you to advance the legislative, representative and oversight role that you are. While the executive executes its mandate.
Yes, you know, this is like a mini public participation. What you've just what you're doing currently, because assume the president is sitting there and opposition leader sitting there, the two big boys, and now you are now giving your memorandum. Arnold.
First of all, I know, whereas this is hypothetical on what we can do, I just need to also bring to the attention of this table that the way we are as a country, we are very polarized, that for the first time the church cannot sit down the two sides of politics, because would Raila listen to Ole Sapit, for example? Would he listen to Ainaina? Would the president on the other side sit down, for example, with Okoth? For the first time, the church does not have the authority. Normally, we will run to them as the ultimate refuge when it comes to reconciliation and sitting people together. The church seems to actually be divided, and you check around the Muslims, they also look like they are lost, especially with the way things are being done. So literally wherever we would go, so nationally, I don't think there is anyone who would sit the two gentlemen together, even as we try to actually advise them. Regionally, would William Ruto and President, or rather President William Ruto and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga sit under Museveni, for example, or Mama Samia Suluhu? Would they? They wouldn't. Under Kagame, they wouldn't. Continentally, you see the problem in South Africa. If you go to South Africa, they will say Cyril Ramaphosa is Raila's friend. So he might not be able to actually sit down and help these guys. So then what is left is that because these are two Nilots fighting each other, we look for probably the senior most Nilot on earth, who is Obama. Who is Obama. And then, of course, now that is the other senior most Nilot on earth, and say, okay, call the two gentlemen together, because all of them from up north, now looking at it from that end. But then if we were to actually, like, if somebody were to sit down and talk to them, first of all, we need to understand Kenya Kwanza's the plan. Do you understand what the plan is? There is what was promised in the manifesto.
And the real execution now.
And now the execution. Those things are worlds apart. We can start with the basic stuff. The promise to young people, for example, not achieved. The promise to women, not achieved. Yet we have copies of those particular documents that were launched with fanfare. So we need them to actually communicate the true plan. He's spoken about the plan, Do we understand as a people what the plan is? We do not seem to understand what they sold and what they are now delivering. So it's important. Let us start from that particular point. And normally there is a process of actually ensuring that you bring those things together. What you promise and eventually what then you execute, because sometimes the manifesto is not policy. That is the truth. We need to actually tell people that political manifestos are not policy. Those are aspirations, those are shopping lists. Once you get into power, you have to mainstream them into policy with the tools that do exist. So here, this plan needs to actually be sieved into Vision 2030, a medium-term plan for the next 5 years, so that then we know what it is. Have they released that? We do not have a medium-term plan. I think it should be MTP4.
What are they waiting for? Time is running. Yeah,
that's 6 months down the line. We do not know exactly what the plan is, because we have seen what they promise and what they are delivering. They've been going around and they have got some notes, the economic team and everything else, that economic council thing. We do not understand, and that is the truth. Kenyans do not understand what the plan is. So first of all, we need that actually distilled.
Some would argue that government operates in an amorphous way.
No, that is not exactly. The reason why we have got a bureaucracy is that it has to be continuous. It should not be amorphous. The reason why a bureaucracy, the only way a bureaucracy will actually operate is by policies. So a policy is directly, we know that you are Victor, the other name is Law, and that you work at KBC, and that whatever way we go around, those will remain constants. So we need policy. This is a bureaucracy. This is not witchcraft. Governance is not witchcraft. So we cannot be in places where we don't know what they're doing. Truth is that we also have to accept that we do not know what the plan is. And probably William does not know what the plan is. He needs to come clean and tell us, okay, now this is what we have settled on. And the easiest way is that there exists a framework. So he needs to do that.
On the other side, first of all, for Raila Odinga, it's important, of course, for him to strengthen the opposition. He's doing it, but he's doing it with the tools that we've seen in the past, some of them that could be destructive. He needs to coalesce people, to bring them together, and of course to harness the anger. But there should be politics of responsibility. We cannot act like once we are gone, we are gone. Two, he's done a good run as an individual. He's done so well for us as a country. We must never forget that. That when there was darkness, he wasn't afraid to stand out for us. But then, has he worked on mentorship? How many people do we say that he's mentored, especially the younger generation? Let us also not pretend that succession is not an issue. Those are issues that should actually be coming out of Raila's plans, succession, mentorship. And has he given us a scorecard? That is as a position? No, a scorecard of the handshake that he was in. Do we have a scorecard? So that as Kenyans we say, okay, this is lessons learned and this is where we could go. So after that, then we can actually talk about now how they engage. Otherwise, the president needs to become the president of Kenya and not the president of Kenya Kwanza. That you should not forget. That we see a deputy president who is consistently acting like he's the president of UDA and not even Kenya Kwanza. We see a president who does not want to speak for other people. The two, the president and his deputy, must be the leaders of this country because they swore to defend the constitution of Kenya, not the constitution of UDA or Kenya Kwanza. The president must be the president of everyone.
Gentlemen, let me take another newspaper here, Daily Nation, before we cross over to Mombasa, where we have got Stephen Mogaka, with Member of Parliament of West Mogirango. On the front page of the Daily Nation, public servants set to lose parks. Civil servants set to lose parks. Salaries Commission reveals that among those targeted for review are retreat, sitting and non-practice allowance, but acknowledges that its efforts to lower the wage bill have faced strong resistance. That is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Public Service Commission writes letter to protest move by salaries body. Public servants set to lose parks. Residents in bandit areas given 24 hours to move out. That was a directive from the Interior Ministry. The areas that the Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki yesterday gave people living in forest, gorges and caves located in close to 30 areas that have been declared crime scenes 24 hours to vacate as the government launches the second phase of the operation to rid the North Rift of bandits. This follows, of course, the intelligence reports that bandits have moved their families to these and other areas to act as human shields. They are doing something more of guerrilla tactic kind of warfare. You use children and women as human shield away from, to shield the soldiers. But then, perhaps the government is also aware that this is what they're doing, so they are, going to use other tactics. Before we continue, let me also bring in Member of Parliament Stephen Mogaka from Mombasa. Mheshimiwa, good morning from Mombasa. First of all, how is the coast region? Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Victor. Good morning, Kenya. Coast is dry and very, very receptive. And I'm happy to see the guest turnout in the coastal town of Kenya. And I think the tourism sector is picking up. I'm glad to be one of them.
Absolutely. You are doing what is called local tourism. Perfect. Now, we are talking about the issue of, the 20th day is soon coming, the next few days, 7 days. Raila Odinga was in Mombasa. I don't know whether you attended that rally, but if you did not, you belong to the Azimio. What is the game plan that Azimio is planning for the 20th day that is almost?
Thank you so much, Victor. Of course, I did not attend the rally because I'm on a working tour, and I did not make time to go for the rally. But what we are looking at is a country grappling with itself and its leadership, trying to learn the ropes, and clearly showing that we have not hit the cruise mode, if I can use the aviation language. The country is still at experimental stage, and we are all looking forward to when the amateur actors in our new government take a grip of the steering wheel and take Kenya where it deserves to be.
You call them amateurs? These are experienced members of parliament. Of course, the president is a
Oh yes, they are learners.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So what next? Because at the end of the day, according to my guests in studio, the opposition should have their priorities right. Same applies to the president. What do you think should be the priority on the side of the president? Stephen.
No, the priority of on the side of the president, which he has missed the opportunity, was stability and continuity. Remember, Victor, government is a going concern. But we are being treated to a situation that the government is starting today, and that there is a cut-off from where we were, and we are having a new beginning. And we have not had any start of that new beginning. Because of that, the country will be in turbulence for a long time to come, until we eat humble pie and agree that there was government before the swearing in of President William Ruto, and that even after President William Ruto vacates office, there will still be government. The government of Kenya is a going concern, I keep saying. And where there is no continuity of institutions, and where you lose people with valuable institutional memory on how things have been working this far, I'm telling you, that is why I say that we have a government which has a learner's plate exhibited on their driving mirrors. And for a long time, sadly, we will have to do a lot of going round in circles before we hit the road running.
Absolutely.
So far now, it is a theater of the absurd.
Okay. You are a member of Azimio, and we've seen you accompanying Honorable Raila Odinga and other principals in so many fora. But then, what is the end game, according to Azimio?
I wish to correct you, Victor, that I'm an elected member of Jubilee party, and although we have not formally left the Azimio coalition, we are trying to chart an independent trajectory as Jubilee members of parliament and try to offer solutions disabused of the previous Azimio grouping, and also appreciating the nature of where the current government is at. But at the end of the day, the ODM leader, which he should always be called, is on the right trajectory in trying to make sure that the government is made aware that it has had a false start, and Kenya is not able to wait, and where all sectors of the economy are not performing, where there is no takeoff in virtually all sectors of the economy, then there are those who used to be called hustlers and are going to realize that they are going nowhere. They are going to get agitated, and they will find a good following in Raila Amolo Odinga.
All right, Mheshimiwa, before I come back to studio, two questions. You said that as Jubilee members, you are pursuing a path to be an independent party within Azimio. Number two, you've said that Raila Odinga should be called ODM leader. What do you mean by those two statements?
What I mean by that is that Raila Odinga was in an Azimio arrangement that he has not been able to sustain, because Victor, Jubilee Party is the third largest party in Parliament. but justice must be seen to be done to the third largest party and the biggest partner in the former Azimio arrangement. But unfortunately, the leader of Azimio, who should have been President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and who is the leader of Jubilee, has taken vacation. And therefore, you cannot talk of Azimio without the three principles of Jubilee, ODM, Wiper, sitting together and engaging with their members to chart a course for Kenya. What is there now is a leadership by ODM, and which as elected members of Jubilee do not find comfortable at all. And that is why I am saying that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga should be speaking as an ODM leader, and we are hoping that when Jubilee get our act right, either get back our party leader to chart a way for the party, we cannot be speaking of Azimio at this point in time, and really that is what it is. If it has not been said before, get it now.
I get you, Mheshimiwa. Okay, just hang in there. I'll come back to you shortly, but with my guest in studio, gentlemen, before you continue, let me take you through the front page of the Standard before I forget. The hot mess that is junior secondary. The hot mess that is junior secondary. A visit to schools shows that lack of teachers, slow distribution of textbooks, additional levies burdening parents, and logistical nightmares as a result of the failed disbursement of capitation money is hurting learning in public schools. That story is fleshed out there for you on page 6 and 7. Ruto, Raila trade words on calls on defiance. Ruto, Raila trade words on calls for defiance. Angola to deploy troops to DRC. You are in DRC. Arnold, probably you'll tell us what is the situation on the ground there. And of course, we've had our own former president being an envoy. And Kindiki in new threat to eliminate bandits. Kindiki in new threat to eliminate bandits, of course, interior serious. Kithure Kindiki yesterday issued a 24-hour ultimatum to residents to vacate suspected bandits' hideouts in 6 North Rift regions. That is, Professor Kindiki also banned non-security aircraft travel in several areas. Okay. You've heard what Mheshimiwa has talked about. So that raises, briefly, before we continue the debate, is Jubilee quitting Azimio?
Definitely. By the past few weeks, the kind of activities you've seen in the Jubilee, there are clear signs that, number one, Jubilee is a divided house. The elected members seem to be affiliated to work with government, while those who are not elected, who are probably holding the secretariat position of the party, feel they need to remain with the opposition. So clearly, by what you've seen the Member of Parliament saying, even if he's not an authority in terms of saying the true position of Jubilee, those are enough signs. So wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So we just need to, it's a matter of time to see in what direction Jubilee is going. But definitely, clearly, there are cracks within Azimio, and definitely there are signs that Jubilee will be pulling out of Azimio. And if it doesn't pull out, it probably goes into some kind of arrangement where they'll be able to have some sort of independence. So we just need, it's just a matter of time to look at it and see.
Your take, Arnold. And as you answer that, do you think the former president was aware of whatever is now happening, and was Raila ready for this?
I don't think anybody in Azimio then, or the loose formation that is in Azimio, expected this particular moment, because there was this feeling that because we had a sitting president, and then of course you have got Raila Odinga on one side, you definitely were going to win. This, like we have said repeatedly, is not an election William Ruto won. It's an election Raila Odinga lost. As in, by all indications, it was that if you have got the state on your side and you've got Raila on that particular end, it was easy to win. But then William Ruto chose to go with the people, and he slugged it out to the very end. Of course, as much as the difference is about 233,000 votes, and of course the plus one is just about 66,000. that is a very tight and close election. But we should also respect the metrics we put in place, what we use to decide what is democracy. So where are we? I think Honorable Mogaka, and I wouldn't say that he doesn't have the authority to comment. He's an elected member. He's a ranking member of Jubilee, and he speaks very authoritatively and very, very clearly. So one thing that we actually had ignored is that the maandamano and the push by Raila Odinga is one way of trying to keep Azimio together. Yeah. Is one way for him, is a strategy to keep a crumbling house engaged, so that then he figures out what to do with it. But then like a lot of coalitions in this country and alliances, we always know what we want to go for, but we never think about what will happen to us. At least we don't manage loss easily. So when Azimio got whatever they got, how did they distribute? Because Jubilee in the House is actually aggrieved. And that has been said repeatedly, especially by members in the House, that a lot of leadership positions have actually been given to ODM, for example, even in places where they feel they should actually have gotten those particular positions. So you cannot do that and still expect that people are going to sit there and cheer you. The people in Jubilee, for example, don't sit very comfortable with crossing over to Kenya Kwanza 100%. A few of them have, but remember where they've just come 6 months ago. This was the team that was actually hitting on UDA and the deputy president, who is now the president. So there's not so much warmth between them, but then they're also in a place where they have got a partner who's sitting on them. So what do they do? So clearly, what Sabina and the others have actually done, you've seen those photos, is that they are speaking what so many other people in the House are doing. But does Jubilee as a party have strength outside of Parliament? Strong, well, let's talk about strength that can actually be influential outside of the House. I see the Secretary General who doesn't look like he's very convincing. Every time, even
that's the same question I want to ask you, gentlemen. We see Jeremiah Kioni still intact with, with Azimio. But from what the Mheshimiwa has talked about is, they're looking for an escape route that once they find it, they'll bolt out.
And that's what I'm talking about. How did they manage the post-election setting? In this country, people really want to eat their cake and still have it. So you, for example, sit down, you sit on us. Like, for example, the coalition that Raila was in with Kina Mudavadi. Yes. What's that name? NASA. Yeah. So you call Wetangula names, you take leadership from him and give it to Orengo, and still expect that Wetangula will sit there, and that when he moves out, he has betrayed you. What kind of logic is that? What kind of reasoning is that? That when you take away the leader of minority from Wetangula in the Senate, you give it to Orengo, call him names and humiliate him, you still expect Wetangula. What kind of exceptionalism is that? That you really wonder the way we do politics and the way people really want to think that will work out. It's the same thing, that you humiliate elected Jubilee members in the House, take away leadership position from them, give them non-script positions, and sometimes even ignore them altogether, and still expect that they will support you going forward. They have got a currency that the people who are outside of politics do not have. He has got legitimacy. When he speaks, he's an elected member of Parliament. So he has got a currency Jeremiah Kioni does not have, even as an SG. Yes. When you guys are reporting here, and that is the point I actually was referring to, when you people are reporting here, you're going to talk about what Raila has said, you'll speak about what Martha Karua has said, what Kalonzo has said. And then if there is some space for words, the editor will think about then sneaking in Kioni. Unless he becomes so dramatic and use that sufuria and it's not going to be, there's not going to be so much about it. So I think Azimio is completely dead. And Mogaka says that Raila Odinga should be referred to as the leader
of ODM. Okay.
How clear can somebody speak? What, as in, you want it more louder than that?
Okay. Let me just get back to him once again. Mheshimiwa, there's this question I've asked my guest in studio, and I also want to ask you the same question. Perhaps if you have Mheshimiwa back. Okay. I want to ask you the same question, but once we have him back, then I'll ask the same question. But gentlemen, all right, Mheshimiwa, the same question I want to ask you. Imagine you are sitting in the advisory council for both the president and Azimio leader. What kind of a question or priority in your list would you give the two gentlemen as we speak? Because all of them are speaking politically speaking. But what would you advise the president and ODM leader Raila Odinga?
That's to me, Victor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, if I were to advise the sitting president at the moment, he knows, like all of us do, that his win was marginal. And therefore, the first business of a sitting president who has marginally won is to hold the country together. And you cannot hold the country together when the leader of peace, half of Kenya, is not settled. And if it's not settled, it therefore means half of Kenya is not settled. And there is a reason we put a public participation in our constitution. And if you want anything to succeed in this country, you must involve the public. And therefore, my urge to President William Ruto and my urge to the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga is that Kenya is bigger than any of them, and it is just about time they involve the public in charting the way forward. I appreciate that Right Honorable Raila Odinga has chosen the mass way action of engaging the public. I do not know how President William Ruto is going to engage the public. Be it as it may, if Kenya is not pulling together, particularly at this time when all odds are against Kenya, then we will not be taking our country anywhere. The most important thing is that at this drought-stricken moment, Kenya needs to hold together, and we work together, create synergy, and be sure that we are attracting foreign investors, we are attracting foreign donors, and we are attracting that will make Kenya get out of the hole we have dug ourselves into through politics. And that would be my advisory. It's never too late. And I urge the Kenya Kwanza government not to think that by Raila leading in actualizing or manifesting what is in many Kenyans' minds and thoughts, he is not seeking for a handshake as he is usually easily rubbished. He is telling the government of the day that Kenya is hurting, Kenya is restless, Kenya is pained, and we need extraordinary actions at this moment to deal with the extraordinary moments that this country is going through.
Whenever you sit in your round table as members of parliament, whatever you discuss, what are some of the deliverables that you think Kenya Kwanza is able to achieve? And again, what are you handing over to the sitting regime to actualize its manifesto as was promised during the political campaigns? Mheshimiwa.
I missed you, Victor. I missed you.
Okay. Anytime you sit as members of parliament, right now you said that you are in a working tour in Mombasa. Anytime you have a discussion as members of Azimio, what options do you have? Because you have got plan A, plan B, and plan C. What options do you have?
One, and I still repeat, when you say members of Azimio, you are misdescribing
you're a member of Jubilee.
A section of members of parliament.
Yes.
But be it as it may, whenever we engage as members of parliament, remember we have a country called Kenya. And we all have sworn our allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, and we have sworn to do what it takes to actualize our national anthem, that plenty be within our borders. So our first wish is, how do we get Kenya moving? The how is where there are divergent opinions, but as to whether we need Kenya to move forward, yes, we do. The trouble therefore then is that the government of the day has concentrated a lot of its energies at targeting people they perceive to have been sympathetic with the retired president. Yet those are the people who are holding institutional memory of what this country has gone through, and for continuity or for improvement, you need these people. Within 6 months, we have seen a corrosion of the entire holders of government positions in the previous moments. And that is what has dug Kenya into the hole it is in. And for the new members, and sorry for me to refer to them as amateurs, for the new occupants of key and vital state positions to learn the ropes, and we hit the cruise height, it is not going to be easy. And therefore, I can confess we will spend one financial year doing nothing other than musical chairs. And perhaps when the new favorite public officers and state officers get to settle to office and get to learn what it takes to run government, we will have lost quite a bit. And whether we take off from there, I leave it to the Almighty God.
You leave it to the Almighty God. Mheshimiwa, hang in there. Come back to you shortly. Okay, gentlemen, I want to talk about something that is also quite important to Kenyans, of course. We've talked about politics, but at the end of the day, we also have to talk about matter security. Kithure Kindiki, 24 hours now is almost, time is now, and the new approach to tackle bandits in the troubled areas. Was that the right way to go?
I think to win this war, Kithure had to first get intelligence, know where these people are, what tactics they are using, what are their movements, who are their financiers, where are they moving these cows, what is the end game. I think he took time to do all that, and now he's probably in a comfortable position to make what we call informed decisions in terms of the tactics he's going to deploy. Unfortunately, there will be collateral damages, because if there are people who are using a human shield to protect themselves, definitely at the point where the curfew or this moratorium will come to an end, definitely we may find people being killed, innocent people being killed, because they are being used by the bandits as human shield, which is very sad. But as a country, I think, is it a price we are ready to pay to get that North Rift region secure? Probably yes. We have lost so many lives so far. It is time that we fight this battle once and for all, so that the North Rift can also become an economic frontier that can help this country lift its economic position. We are North Rift is next to South Sudan, Ethiopia, and part of Somalia. And those are areas we need to open up, make them peaceful, so that projects like LAPSOP, where we have invested a lot, can also start seeing the benefits. You've seen a lot of the infrastructure projects that were done in the Uhuru administration. We are paying hugely in terms of debt for those projects, and we don't have foreign currency, because we are not able to export as much, we are not manufacturing as much. So we need to open some of these areas, so that we can also have enough that we can be able to sell out there to start repaying some of these expensive debts that we are holding from the last 10 years that we had the Uhuru administration. So if the North is holding that promise that we are able to open a very big region of our country in terms of being an economic frontier, so let us do whatever it requires to be able to do that. As we have seen, we are investing a lot of military support in Somalia. Why can't we also invest the same military support to free the North Rift? You understand? We are sending people to DRC Congo. Why can't we also invest in the same people to help us secure the North Rift? And the problem of the North Rift is political and also security in one way or another. So let us deal with the security issue. The political issue can be handled by the people.
Gentlemen, all of us have their cups there. Let's take a sip as we take a break. We'll be right back after this, shortly.
operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of A's in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Right. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us as well. So let's talk about the issue that is now, it's moving forward for the next couple of days or even weeks to come, is going to be on our lips. And of course, the issue of North Rift. The CS said that people who are living in the quote-unquote bandit areas were given 24 hours to move out as they're going to start their operations. Arnold, 24 hours, was it enough, or the government ought to have given them more time?
I do not think that the government did not speak from a place of consideration. Of course, putting into place strategic interests and tactical ones. I think administratively they've done proper mobilization now. We've got enough boots on the ground. I think they have hardened the other side of the hammer that is actually going to hit the anvil on the other end. So for this, I think the 24 hours that were given, there was consideration that it was enough time for civilians who have nothing to hide to leave the areas. I don't think that it's in the interest of government to hurt its own civilians. The very reason why government is actually in that particular region is to ensure that there is calm for the people, not for trees and stones. So it's not in the interest of this government to harm these particular people. So 24 hours, I think, and there were measures on the ground to ensure that people have actually left, as in people who are not combatants. So that question might be a difficult one to understand unless you are Kindiki or the people who are doing that particular end. But as it is, I think the government is now ready to ensure that, number one, we deal with this issue once and for all. If there are few issues that you can tell even from a civilian perspective, that on the Ugandan border, the Ugandans have mobilized and that they have hardened their side of the border. Therefore, no one will actually be hitting on this side and running to hide on the other side. So that has been worked on. I think they ensured that that is worked out properly. Locally, I think there was heavy mobilization in the last few days, specifically for the military. And we know from other sources that special forces are now on the ground. And they are going out all out the Mount Elgon way. The things that you actually might not, we might not be looking at this particular point is that an operation of this nature is going to be long-term. It's not going to be short-term. There's going to be humanitarian crisis. So I hope that we have got measures to ensure that it doesn't bleed too much, even where it becomes difficult to avoid that. So it's going to be long term. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I think this was the only way to go about it. There are no two ways of going about this, because this thing has been festering. It's a wound that has not been healing. It's been around for so long, and it's important that we camp on the ground, put in all the tools, the equipment, the resources that we have to ensure that we heal this. So when I talk about long term, is that once you get to those gorges, the valleys and everything else, it's one thing to use kinetics to stop, at least temporarily, the killings and everything else, but also it will take time to deal with the ideology, to deal with the socialization, to put in place infrastructure that then brings in a new society. So it's going to take a bit of time, but I think it's good. If there's anything that Kindiki can do that will go on his legacy should be ensuring that the North is actually settled once and for all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Stephen Mugaka, you know, from the analyst point of view, they have given their point. But let me come back to you as a legislator. A lot of allegations have been, you know, floated around that, you know, the infiltration of these illegal firearms and ammunition come from our bordering nations. What are you doing, or if at all, do you think the legislative arm of government should be doing something to talk to these neighboring countries to block their borders so that at the end of the day there will be no infiltration of illegal firearms and ammunition to, you know, support the bandits?
Thank you so much, Victor. I hope I'm on air.
Right.
What I note in the northern frontier is that our territory is challenged. During this drought moment, the northern frontier is more stressed than the rest of Kenya, and that is what is triggering the heightened conflict that we have seen. Yes, I agree with you that illegal arms are inundating our northern frontier, and this weaponization of communities is what this country needs to look at and have a lasting solution about it. At some point, we say that if you don't arm the communities, then they will be overrun by the enemies when the enemies attack. And others argue that unless you de-weaponize the communities, you do not know when a community is defending itself and when they are bandits. In our eyes, we perceive gun holders as bandits, while in the local communities, they look at them as their warriors who defend them, and whenever there is a threat of aggression, they say they pursue the bandits into their territories. As a parliament, I know that we have enough laws that make it illegal for anybody to hold a firearm unless they are licensed. Many of those who are holding firearms in the region we are talking about are not licensed to hold those guns. But there is usually a justification, particularly from the local leadership, that unless the local community is armed, then they become vulnerable. It is a very delicate balancing because they are majorly along the border areas of this country, and where the bandits come from across the border and they raid communities within Kenya, then again a case is made out that you cannot leave those communities without armed guards or armed personnel or armed civilians because the policing of this country is not adequate to provide sufficient security. And what I urge Honorable Kindiki is to breathe in and breathe out and engage the leadership of these communities.
Yeah.
They know what is ailing them. And we seriously need alternative dispute resolution mechanisms for the communities in the northern frontier.
Mheshimiwa Stephen. Okay. Moving forward, all right, moving forward, let me ask you, Crispus, at the end of the day, you know, in the next couple of days or weeks, with operations starting today, of course, with a lot of collateral damage bound to happen, we saw what happened in Mount Elgon. The LRM was taking charge, and with their leader, Matakwe, way back then, I think way back then when Saitoti was the Minister of Interior, and that area was completely pacified. The North Rift region has been in the lips of Kenyans for so many years, including the last regime. We saw Matiang'i having several meetings with local leaders, members of parliament. Some of them were arrested, arraigned, and ultimately released. But nothing happened. And now military is on the ground. What should we expect from now moving forward? With the collateral damage or not?
You see, if you look at the history of this matter, it started as a cultural practice. That's what it was tagged.
Yes.
Then we started hearing murmurs of being a commercial interest affair. Then commercial interests always look for political protection. So now politics has come in, where we have now politicians being accused to be the promoters and protectors of this commercial interest. And now we are now turned to the military to solve this issue. So I think once we have to invite the military, then the military should provide a permanent cure, where we shall never find commercial interests bringing in issues of banditry in the North Rift. And once the military lives there or decides to stay there, then we need to find that area changing in terms of the social structure and economic structure of that area, so that the people that can come out of these military operations, whether it will take 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, is a new breed of young people and families and people that are focused on now finding new economic opportunities to find livelihood in the North Rift outside the business of banditry, so that the North Rift can now become another frontier for the Kenyan people. You know, we are talking about 30-40% of the Kenyan landmass being not accessible for any economic activity other than banditry, which is also another economic activity being promoted by politicians who are their own selfish interests. So if we can use the military to cure this issue of banditry, but provide an alternative way of life in that area and bring in a new social way of living, then that will be the best thing that we can do. So that even if we incur a huge cost now, there is a bigger price of reward in terms of the next 50 years about this area that has suffered for the last 50 years of no development, cultural practices that have now become banditry practices that are killing people. And I think if we are going to use the military, can we find a permanent solution from them, so that we don't say we send the military and they failed. In Mount Elgon, we have peace. There are people now enjoying the economic livelihoods there because of the peace that the military provide. Can we have the same in the North Rift? Yes.
Arnold, as you respond to that, you know, anytime you want to kill a snake, first of all, you start with the head. You don't start with the tail. And in the past regime, they really tried, you know, to bring some of the political leaders to book. A couple of guys have been arrested. They tried to cordon off some areas, you know, curfew, but that never bore any fruit. We've seen Mount Elgon, peace prevailed. We've seen the Mungiki scare way back, peace prevailed. We've seen, you know, Operation Linda Inchi. Now Kenyan soldiers moved to Somalia. There is some relative calm in Somalia. In fact, some people say that some parts of Doble, when you go there, it's a whole new world. You know, the beaches, people are now enjoying their lives. But now when you come back home, there is that small pocket of scare in the north, and now it has now been called as terrorism in 2023.
You know, the problem, or rather the challenge with security operations, is that sometimes the way it's reported and the reality on the ground are normally worlds apart. A lot of times something that is actually built to be cultural, to be ideological, you will actually go down and realize it's actually economic. I'll just give you an example. A lot of times, for example, we do not do justice to the journalism that we do as a country because people do not follow through. For example, do you remember there was a time when there was a lot of insecurity in Bungoma? And there were killings, and people were saying people were crossing over from Uganda and coming on this side, and there was an operation all over. And it's still, even when the police were on the ground, there were still killings here and there. How was that handled? Outside of the SPLM thing, it's about land defense, the SDLF thing. Then there was some killing in Western, in Mumias specifically, Mumias and Matungu, and it was in the news and everything else, and it was looking like it was a bigger thing. Did we follow through to know? As in, because the people on the ground who finally handle it do something that we would actually call a critical factor analysis. If you go back and you look at the reports that actually handled that, or rather brought those things to conclusion, you realize that what was reported and what was happening were not the same. Like the initial issue in Bungoma, for example, were just about 3 individuals who had been in the same cell. They came out and they wanted money to pay lawyers. And they realized that the only thing they knew was going out there and robbing. One of them was in Mumias, the other one was in Bungoma, and the other one was in Busia. And that they terrorized a whole region as they looked for money to pay lawyers. But what did the media report during that particular time? We even, the current speaker was actually even brought in, then I think as I don't know, as an MP or as a senator, was actually brought in, and there was casing, and he had to write statements, and people were talking about people keeping militia. When eventually, how it was cracked, it was just 3 individuals who were looking for money to pay lawyers, but they were terrorizing the whole region. Did we look at what was happening in Mumias, for example? So we can bring in a lot of issues, and every case is separate. So when you talk about culture, for example, he raised the issue of culture here. My great-great-grandfather died in a cattle rustling expedition. So cattle rustling has been there as long as we human beings have known how to domesticate animals. But does it still proceed? Am I a cattle rustler today? No. Do I come from the North Rift? No. In fact, I'm a Bantu. So cattle rustling has been across. Whether you are Bantu, you are Nilot, you are Kushite. In this region, cattle rustling was part and parcel of our culture in the days of old. So even as we get into this, first of all, governments have not been serious when it comes to deal with the issue in the North Rift because of political expediency. I am hoping that this time round, it's very, very important for them to actually settle this. For the simple reason, like I've told you, that do we put the best of the resources that we have and equipment when we are dealing with these issues? We've not always done that, because I was telling you offset that when you ask the officers commanding stations to give you officers to go on the ground during an operation, what an OC is going to do is that he's going to give you the Sumbua officers, those guys who don't show up on time, the guys who don't show up in court when they are sent to represent, or rather to speak on issues they should be managing, people who are always having issues with their landlords. You know, we've got a lot of that in the services anyway. So when there is an operation, an OC is likely to mobilize those Sumbua guys and put them in uniform and give you. A lot of those guys get on the ground and they are junk. They're not doing good work. That's why you hear there's heavy police presence, and you know, this guy has not even been effective in his own station. You don't expect him to be effective during an operation. So for a lot of operations, the OCs, the officers commanding stations, divisions and everything else, use it as a punishment. So when you put in the best equipment like we are putting in, when you send in the GSU, RDU, asked to, you take in the special forces like we are now doing. Now we've actually taken this thing seriously. The same way we decided to deal with Matakwe's issue. It was an issue about people who were aggrieved in how land was actually given out. They didn't have any other way. In an area that is actually affected by bandits, I am elected by a community there that are actually victims of bandit attacks. You want to actually tell me that I will not help my people either to fight against it, and sometimes you do not have the capacity to control. If you are to give people money to defend themselves, you know, an offensive weapon, a defensive weapon can easily be switched to offensive, very, very easily. That is why people say that if you're going to do nuclear energy, you could say, okay, we are doing it for peaceful missions. But engineer here will tell you that it's a very small tweak between generating energy and forming a nuclear bomb. It's not so defensive can as well be offensive. Depends on how you decide to employ it. So do you want to tell me that even if I were to be elected a governor in those particular regions today, that I will not be forced by circumstances and self-preservation because I still want to be the leader of these people, for example, to stand in? So some of these people we are forcing and we've been arresting are not necessarily the head of the snake. But it's a situation that has festered in for so long that anyone who finds himself in that particular lake, it's already salty, you have to become salty yourself. So we have to deal with the situation as is on the ground. Otherwise we will go around, arrest these members of parliament, do headlines around it, but we never go to the bottom. And after the issues have been dealt with, for example, who has done a post-mortem on what happened in Mount Elgon? Who has done a post-mortem on what was happening just a year ago, 2 years ago when Malala was being arrested, Rashid was being arrested in Kakamega, for example? Has anyone gone to that and asked the people who dealt with it, how did they deal with it? What were the lessons learned? How can we apply the same in future? because sometimes we sensationalize. When those things are happening, we get out of our hand and sensationalize these issues. Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, as we come to a close, let me ask you, Mheshimiwa Stephen, what is the voice of Parliament in this operation as it begins today, and of course it's going to continue for the next few days? I don't know how long it's going to take, but the government is hell-bent that this is going to be the end of that issue in the North Rift. What is the voice of Parliament in this operation?
Thank you, Victor. Parliament has a committee in charge of security, and I'm sure it is properly seized of this matter. What I know for sure is that militarizing conflict within the borders is not a solution. And as Parliament, of course, we have the legislative power to authorize the military to go on any assignment. I do not remember, before I came down Mombasa, I do not remember whether Parliament has ever authorized the military to undertake an assignment within the borders of Kenya. And as a management student, I know that conflict has a cause and effect. The wrong way to resolve conflict is to react to the effect. And the best way to resolve conflict is to establish the cause and address that cause. To my lay mind, what we are having in the North Rift is a conflict triggered by a resource conflict over access to resources or distribution of those resources. And if that be the case, and politics is about resource distribution and control, then I am lost at whether the military being deployed to deal with this situation is going to bring a solution. And we are only creating a hardened situation where a market for more sophisticated arms is going to grow, because the more you deploy the military, those who feel aggrieved will have to look for equally sophisticated weaponry to combat and or engage the military. And don't forget, Victor and Kenyans, that where the conflict is going on at the moment are areas which border our neighbors, and it is very easy for those you call bandits, but who are called warriors by their own. It is very easy for them to retreat to neighboring countries and then come back to attack when they know it is strategically safe to attack and attack successfully. My take is, as Parliament, if called upon to do legislative intervention, I am sure we will stand to the occasion, but that has not come. But I wish all the best for those who are going to be deployed as military officers to deal with this situation. I also do hope that the Human Rights Watch will be equally deployed there, because we do not want, when the military get there, they start attacking the immobile, old, frail and aged, and the women and children that have been left in their houses, because I know those we call bandits and elsewhere are called warriors will be in their military holes and not easily spottable by those we are calling military. At the end of the day, as a country, we need a pacific settlement of disputes rather than go to military combat, because violence or war only begets war. And it is really tragedy that Kenya is going to start its civil war from the northern Kenya. I pray and plead that Kenyans be human and know that we need a country, and may peace and prosperity be the beacon of hope as we commence this undesirable militarization of local conflict.
All right, Mheshimiwa, Before I let you go, I'm made to ask you that it's Monday. We are at work. What are you doing in Mombasa? It seems you are you on holiday or something? Please share with us.
No, I'm not on holiday. I wish I would be on holiday. We have just yesterday concluded audit committee capacity building, and today we start the IGAD conference that is going to culminate in the ratification of a possible protocol that will guarantee free flow of goods and services within the East African and larger African state. And while we are doing this, it is really tragic that we are talking of conflict within the borders of Kenya, when as a state we are hosts to the IGAD conference and possibly being very, very critical actors in actualizing the African Free Trade Agreement. Yes, I'm on official duty, a call for country. And I thank you for inviting me.
That's a good one. Now, I know the people of West Mugirango are happy that the Mheshimiwa is working and you're not on holiday. But lastly, what are the key pointers for that IGAD meeting now that you are trying to deliberate on how to open our borders? What are the key pointers, Mheshimiwa?
It opens today, and it is bad to let the cat out of the bag ahead of the commencement of the protocol. But you know that our neighbors have been in conflict most of the years, and that has impeded the actualization of the African Free Trade Agreement or free flow of people, goods and services across Africa. And if the IGAD region embraced peace and stability, it will go a large way towards actualizing this dream for Africa. And it just coincides with what we are talking about Northern Kenya. How do we allow free flow across our neighbors when we are in conflict? And it is this kind of it is on this kind of note I am making a plea to Kenya and the actors who are fueling the conflict in the Northern Rift, that you may think this conflict is local, but it has international negative repercussions for country. And if that were reason enough, I would rather see peace prevail as we come out by the end of this week with a signed protocol that allows Kenya to receive people in and out, as we allow Kenyans to go out in and out and eke living anywhere in Africa and indeed anywhere in the world.
Perfect. Now we know you are in Mombasa on our working tour. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for that, and of course for giving us that insight on what you should be expecting. Of course, some good things coming out of Mombasa. Perhaps at the end of the week we'll keep in touch so that you can give us more update on what Kenya and other nations shall have signed out of that retreat. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. That is Stephen Mogaka, who is Member of Parliament of West Mugirango constituency, joining us live from Mombasa County. Gentlemen, 30 seconds each. I'm told we are running out of time. Your parting shot, kindly, starting with you.
My parting shot is for the opposition to have its acts together, come up with serious issues they want to address with the government, and find sober forums to engage the government, rather than pushing us to mass action, which is going to be expensive. It's going to have loss of life, loss of livelihood. We don't want to go to that direction. The president should also open his doors to discussion with the opposition, so that we can have a conversation as a country and find a charter way forward.
Arnold, thank you.
A very quick one. First of all, it's important to say this, that in the north, where the military and the government is actually trying to solve a problem, there is already a hot conflict. There is no way of going about it other than, first of all, using kinetics before we get to the very end. So we only pray and ask that they have got an end-to-end solution and framework in place, because you cannot recite poetry to somebody who actually is holding a sword. So on the other side, the people we are dealing with are already shooting and killing people. We can't get there and talk any other thing. There must be a balance of fire here. and that who has got the monopoly of violence here? The government must rein in, and the balance of fire must be on the government side. So, be that as it may, let no one actually question. I've heard Mheshimiwa talk about militarizing not being the solution and everything else. It's a hot conflict. There are no two ways about it. Two, and last for me, there is nothing the president and the former prime minister are supposed to sit and talk. It's difficult to quantify anything. They will sit down and talk. The only thing they should do is that each and everyone should do their job. The president should be the president, and the former prime minister, if he chooses to play oppositionist politics, he should do oppositionist politics, at least within the ambit of the constitution.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, gentlemen. That's all we had time for. And of course, your comment and contribution is always valued. Thank you so much for coming over to the show. And of course, Team Mombasa, led by Shadrick Makolo, camera person, and the entire team there, led by our producer. Thank you so much. Stephen Mogaka, Member of Parliament, West Mogrango, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Crispus Wathimba, an engineer and political analyst as well. Karibu sana, and thank you so much for coming over. And Alon Maliba, asante sana, brother.
Asante.
All right. Okay, that's where we wrap it up on Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. But for now, it's a good morning. Bye-bye.
Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you technological debates and concepts. Let us assume we have a young innovator who has come up with an app.
Financial technology and financial services is a very complex game.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news both locally and internationally. Apple has lost its position as the most valuable firm amid tech sellers. We also explore different innovations by our very own young innovators. Make sure you don't miss. Tune in every Monday at 10:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
It seems that my youngest daughter has disappeared. It's Amparo. Are you all right, Amparo?
Yes.
Did they touch you? Did they do anything?
No, I'm fine, Ruben. They didn't do anything to me. And it's all thanks to you. Those guys almost killed you, Ruben. They almost killed you. They almost killed you.
You've been a lot of fun, Oligario. But my life in this house is getting to be so annoying. So I guess I'll have to speed things up a little bit.
And who is Fabiola?
I'm Fabiola.
Then come with me because the patient also asked for you.
Ruben, let's just stay here tonight and rest. Miss, do you have 2 rooms available for us?
I only have 1 room that's available now.
Hakuna gasi wako naye hapa. Ni kukula mshahara ya bure tu. Mimi manager nafanya gasi ya manager na bucha nioshe vyombo.
Unajua mimi hata mama yangu aliambiwa alisa akili peke yake. Kitu ninaisha mama kaya na zina kitu tisa nini hapa hivi.
Ni nini mbaya na wewe?
Ita ambulance. Ita basi mapoto. Nije paka tukutuku.
Kama ulikuwa na garage na sisi yake. Sio tufukuza sisi tukienda tukuache na amani.
Ya.
Ni nini?
Kumbe hiki kitu ni TV tu gaki.
Inakaa hivi wewe si TV labda.
Si unaona waka ile mesa wanasomea taarifa iko hapa ndani.
after the dust settled on rigorous...
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of...
We bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Sabadisha, we live in one day. Can't settle down, until we get my call.
What is cyber hygiene?
Hata sina idea. Sina idea. Cyber hygiene, I don't know.
What is the word?
Kusafisha memory labda.
Cyber hygiene.
Cyber hygiene, it's just basically free use of the internet without any risks or stuff like that.
I don't know the meaning exactly of cyber hygiene, but at least I can get something out of cyber.
Is how well you handle your cyber space, I could call it, how well you interact with your socials.
It's all about the safeness of internet.
Stuff to do with cyberbullying.
I think it's
these are good practices that we practice so as to secure our cyberspace.
Keeping the internet clean, in literal terms, yeah.
Protecting yourself from the cyber crimes and stuff.
The frequent maintenance of user information in a database.
1 to 10. Yeah.
How strong is your password?
A strong 5. 8.
I believe 5.
10.
I'd say a 7.
I think it's 8 over 10.
Like, I'll give it a 2.
Can give it a 7.
6. Yeah. Because I think if someone knows me well, they can think it.
Okay, I have a bad memory, so I tend to set a password that my memory can easily remember.
Because I've never experienced somebody hacking my account.
Because I'm being protected. My ICT expert.
So I share near Instagram. That's what I share. But others I don't, so that's why it's an 8.
Because I've not followed the guidelines passwords should take so that it can become strong.
On a serious note, I forget all my passwords. Sijui aki. Because when I make a password, I just save it on Google and I forget about it. So if I don't know it, how would you know it? Labda Google wani hack.
Because it consists of underscores and also spaces and also full stops, a lot of them. So yeah.
What's your M-Pesa PIN?
I can't lick that.
32. Why would I know? No, just inaishana 1. Inaishana 1. Hadi hakuna haja because I don't have money.
Cyber hygiene, Kenya nakuja kwa akili yangu ni mambo ya kusecure my online accounts, kitu kama hiyo.
According to HelpNet Security, cyber risks top worldwide business concerns in 2022. Our devices become exposed when in use privately, when we are connected to cybercafe or other devices. When we were all small, our mothers told us, when you go to the bathroom or before you eat food, wash your hands. COVID came, we all learned we have to wear our masks, we need to sanitize or wash our hands and social distance, 6 feet apart. That's what cyber hygiene is. These are the best practices that you do as part of your regular routine every time you go online, so that they keep you safe online. When we practice cyber hygiene, we protect confidentiality of our devices, which means no unauthorized access. Online harassment is a major vice that takes place on cyberspace. The most vulnerable groups include children, people with disability, and women journalists.
There is a whole week that I had been harassed online a lot. And every day when I went to radio in the morning, I would say, what have you posted online today? What are you sharing today? Okay? And I referred back and I said, if you go to my Facebook page, there is this, have you seen it? People have said 1, 2, 3 about me. Do you believe that? And I would say, and I would call out names and say, like so and so, I don't know you. I have never met you. Where are you getting this information about me to talk about it online and to share with the whole world about me?
I was telling people that I, as a blind person, I stayed in the darkness during COVID for 3 days. And then in the post, as I was reading what was posted in social media sites, because they took the story from one of the local media houses, people were asking, how did this blind person know that he needs power? So people are very ignorant.
Sasa zingine maybe umekubali friend request sababu unaona mtu msini mutual friend wa watu wangu, meaning that na watu vile najua ni watu genuine, so unaikubali. Na being that okay, ni wewe na Iran, utapata by the end of the day umerushiwa news hapo hivyo, vitu umerushiwa hapo hivyo ni vitu hazifai.
Online bullying feels permanent. People should know that once something is out there, it will always be out there.
Children are growing up into a space where they're competing with the digital world and getting curious about it from a very early age. So I think the role of the parent is to immerse the child in a healthy way. So everything you post about your child when they're still young is actually going to stay there a while. Everything that your child posts about themselves is going to stay there a while.
Kenya ICT Action Network offers training on digital security and has also created resources that educate the public on how to stay safe online. If you want to stay safe in the cyberspace, there are cyber hygiene practices that everyone can at least apply. First, ensure your private information remains private and is protected. Install a tracker for your devices and keep all your credentials safe, including password and bank details. Secondly, you need good maintenance habits. Do not install too many apps. Install trusted apps. Additionally, use the right charger for your devices and maintain regular cleanup or formatting. Thirdly, you must practice good judgment. We say, before any action, you need to stop, think, check. Always discern what is false from what is true. You need to distrust strange emails, messages, and calls until verified. Fourthly, practice safe behaviors. This involves remaining sensitive about what you post and how you behave or react to other people's posts or information. Never share unverified content.
people hurry about sharing breaking news and forget about sharing the correct news. Take some time to verify. You may be late in breaking a story, but you are better off breaking the correct story. Okay? Because sometimes even saying unspecified sources or we could not reach the source, it doesn't help. You have already caused damage.
And if you have used public Wi-Fi, do not use your devices for money transactions. Consider using your mobile data bundles, as this is safer.
We want that free Wi-Fi, which is okay when you're trying to do your regular things, but make sure you have complied with cyber hygiene best practices, where you switched off your discoverability. You can use a firewall, a virtual private network, a VPN to secure you when you're in these places. However, if you can't get access to all of these things, and you must still use that free Wi-Fi, because we all know, we all need to use it. Don't use it for sensitive information. If you're doing a banking transaction, applying for government documents, doing your tax returns, anything sensitive, you rather buy bundles.
After the clients have finished doing whatever they were doing, I usually encourage them to log off to keep their credentials safe. Even though after using the cyber, some don't log off, I usually take it at a personal level to log them off.
In a case where you have a person living with disability or are facing certain limitations in regards to sight or any other physical challenge, you may need assistive tools to help you stay safe.
There's a program which has currently started a bit as a pilot on digital literacy for persons with disabilities to access government services. But the main challenge, I can tell you that it is not even accessing that digital service for the government. It is knowing the basics of computer for persons with visual disabilities and persons with sensory disability, let's say persons with autism who communicate with non-verbal language, or person who are deaf-blind who might need tactile mode of communication, which is not available in the country and which is beyond reach from the persons who are accessing it.
Parents need to pay a lot of attention. The Communications Authority of Kenya has child online safety programs. They have child online safety games called Cyber Soldiers, which children can download to learn child safety awareness. If you suspect something is happening, please report it. Report it to KSET. They even have an app which you can download on Android or iOS, which makes reporting very easy for these child online things or any cybercrime that's out there.
Cyber hygiene is everyone's responsibility, which means that while organizations need to prioritize cyber hygiene, so must individual users.
Hey, you're here too? If you personally go talk to her about it, she will change her mind. Because all of this happened because you fired her.
She said she's not coming back. So what can I do?
I'm sorry, Liam.
I don't want to have anything to do with immortals, so I have to find a job as soon as possible and have some stable work so my family won't worry.
I'm taking my annual leave. I won't come to the office, but I'll send in my articles. If you need anything, call me anytime.
Take on Tech, a weekly program that brings you technological debates and concepts. Let us assume we have a young innovator who has come up with an app.
Financial technology and financial services is a very complex game.
Keeping you up to date with the latest tech news both locally and internationally. Apple has lost its position as the most valuable firm amid tech sellers. We also explore different innovations by our very own young innovators. Make sure you don't miss. Tune in every Monday at 10:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1. Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened live. We'll let you know what you missed, even if you were present.
And our goal is to continue supporting our own.
From the latest celebrity buzz,
fashion,
music,
and all manner of youth talents,
the Grapevine cameras rove all week to bring you the latest in the enormous entertainment scene.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m. and the rerun on Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1, baby.
Engage us on Facebook and Twitter, #Grapevine on KBC. Let us know what is happening in your area code, because you know what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine,
then it most probably never happened. Bah!
Ain't nobody gotta tell you what you gotta do.
Exactly 4 minutes past the top of the hour. You're right in time for our last conversation. This Monday morning, we look on matters family check, and we train our focus right now just looking at the state of marriages in our country. We peg this discussion basically on what the courts ruled, especially as far as paternity is concerned, and of their infants, as well as also just looking at where we are as a country in terms of marriages and divorce cases. Again, looking at the 2019 census report that did indicate we are slowly and steadily climbing that percentage in terms of divorce cases. On that same note, I have created first time with Pastor Helen Njoki of Jesus Victory Center, who will be helping us converse about this and so much more. Pastor Helen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Christian.
Yeah, Doreen,
sorry.
Yes. Let's just start with first understanding what basically you're doing, because you have a movement,
yes,
Woman Travail, prayer movement for marriages.
Yes.
We first begin by understanding what Woman Travail is as we get deeper into what this prayer movement is all about.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much this wonderful morning. I thank God for giving me this opportunity, because it really matters in such a season. Woman Travel basically is a prayer movement for marriages, specifically for marriages. It's such a deep groaning in the heart of God that God desires to heal unions in such a nasty situation, in such a confused state of affairs in our unions, that God called me 2 years ago and told me, go and heal marriages. He gave me the name and told me marriages will be healed as you just pray. Yes.
You're saying that God called you and gave you the name, and I was just about to ask you, what's in the name? Woman Travel specifically, the name itself. What does it mean? What does this signify?
All right, Woman Travel basically means that this matters to us the most, is a deep groaning in the heart of a woman, which connected with the heart of God. Because when I was praying, I was not praying for marriages. I was just praying for my personal relationship with God. I went to the prayer mountain, and as I was praying, God called me. We shall talk this later. Yeah. God called me into a small office and told me ABCD. He told me, how many years have you been to that marriage? I told God 16 years.
This was
a vision. I was praying and then I was taken.
When was this?
This one's 2 years ago.
So in 2021?
Yes.
All right.
And now God tells me, come into this office. It was a small, beautiful office. And the Lord asked me, how long have you been to that marriage? I told God 16 years. And then God asked me, how then do you still feel it's a mistake that you are still in that marriage? Because I am praying for this marriage, Madam Doreen, and I was like, no, God, I cannot continue to pray for it. And therefore I went to the mountain specifically to pray for my personal relationship with him, and now the church, the new church at Kawangware. And now that's how the woman traveled. I actually was given the name the wailing woman. And I asked God, no, who will come when the name is we and wailing? Now, who will
because
come to wail?
Signifies sorrow and crying.
So I told God, no, let it be another name. And God told me then, let it be a travail woman. I was like, yes, what is travail woman? Because I had not seen this before. I had not heard this before. And then I understand that it means a deep groaning of a woman saying that, God, this matters to me the most. So travail, it means this matters to us the most.
This is something of great importance.
Yes, great importance to us. Because we understand that pastoral missions comes from a marriage. Everything, even you come from a marriage. So your source dictates how you carry your day.
I hear you. So then also this comes from, aside from the fact that you had God, as you rightfully say, but also this comes from the fact that it was from your personal experience to some extent. You know, without going so much into details, deeper into details, what was this? Just paint for us a picture. What was this?
I've been in marriage for 16 years by the grace of God since 2007. And for more than 10 years, actually, for more than 10 years, I fought a lot of issues that I felt like, ni normal. Like any other woman who is watching me. Anasema, hii ni kawaida. I was meant to go through this. I was created to go through this. So I believed that. Even if I was born again, even if I was an associate pastor where I was going, I accommodated these things. And I felt like, yes, let's move together. Now, until in my line of ministry, in my line of prayer, God told me, no, I am about to do something in the nation of Kenya. I am about to do something on earth. And therefore, the thing that I'm about to do cannot be accommodated in the sad state of affairs that we are having in our marriages. Go and heal the institution, so that what I'm about to do can be sustained in the institution.
I hear you. I still want you to answer my question, so also we can get context and create context for this conversation. So then that was the ministry. That is what, you know, you had in terms of the voice of God. But what issues were this? And like I said, without really going so much into detail, but just on a broader perspective, what are this?
Personally, for more than 10 years, I've battled depression, I've battled infidelity, I've battled rejection. Call it, name it. I've gone through it all. Yes.
This in marriage?
Yes.
Why did you feel the need to stay?
All right. Now, there is this thing that we say, a pastor.
I hear you.
And so many people...
you can't leave your marriage, you can't, as they say.
All right, you can't.
Watakuona vipi?
Watakuona vipi? Halafu pia mimi ni mchungaji, umeshindwa na kwako, kuko namna gani? These are the things that are holding us hostage. But again, I'm happy because God has seen it.
So for you in that moment, of course, healing came momentarily later afterwards. That's also why you began, you know, the prayer movement. But then in that moment, you felt the need to stay because of societal pressure. What will they say?
All right. Apart from the societal pressure, I also considered my children. I have 3 children. One is in Form 1, the other one grade 5 and PP2. And now I was like, oh God, now there is the perspective of everything when the child is raised by 2 parents. And again, I didn't want them to deny. I didn't want to deny them an opportunity to be raised by their father. So I was still optimistic. I was so positive. I was waiting on God that God, when it is your will, as I am warning the women now, you know, we've been like, God, if it's your will, my marriage will be okay. But now God is asking us, can you now come out of this comfort zone? Can you come out of this and place your will on to what you want happen in your marriage? We place it and God will honor the will. I didn't know about that until now God spoke to me.
We'll come to the movement in a short while. I mean, we have some good amount of time to discuss that. So we'll come to that in a short while, and you know, the counties you've covered, how you plan to do that, and you know what the long-term goal of that is. But before we get to all that, Pastor Helen, just let's backtrace a bit. Yeah, you know, you've also talked about the fact that you did stay there in that time because of the children, and there's also a bit of what society would have said in that moment, and you realize that good number of times this is why good number of women will stay even in abusive relationships and abusive marriage. How many times are we recording cases and numbers of gender-based violence? And of course, this, you know, when I talk about GBV, I'm just saying that this does cut across on both genders. Yeah? So then, how many people would stay in unions? Let me just say unions because I want to really bring both genders on board. Will stay in unions because of reasons such as this. But then they're hurting inside.
They're hurting. Yeah,
you know, they're being they're getting depressed, and it's like there's not much they can do about it. What is happening? What is the problem?
Now the problem is one, and this is what God is bringing on board because it has been sidelined for a long time. Now the mission, the initial plan of God concerning the unions has been violated, completely violated.
How so?
Because I and my husband doesn't really understand that we are not just in the union because of us.
Okay. So there's a bigger purpose to this.
Yes.
That we seemingly don't get.
We need to understand that we are in unions to allow the purpose of God in that institution. Remember, it is the only institution that was begun by God. Any other institution is man-made. But institution of marriage was begun by God. Like in the book of Genesis, chapter number 2, verse 18, the Bible says that God saw it was not good for a man to be alone. And therefore he gave him, he created him a suitable spouse, a suitable helper. Now this suitability, it means that when you find your rib, because it's a man who finds the rib, not a woman. When the man finds a rib, it simply means you've gone to represent God in that union. And therefore the only thing that I'm speaking to spouses is that be a God to each other. This is where we are failing it.
That's where we are failing. So as you say, as a man findeth, that's in the word.
Yes.
Now we are living at a time where everyone is finding.
That's where the mistake is. Everyone is in search.
Even the woman is finding.
Yes.
And we're living at a time where we are saying, some would say there's nothing wrong with that.
But
is that part of the problem?
It could be.
Do you find fault with that?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. I find a problem with that.
Tell me more.
Because now a woman proceeds from the man's rib. It means something left a man. And therefore it is the duty of a man to find the rib that left him during creation. Now confusion, yes, I'm the one looking for, and even to some extent as pastors we are doing even matchmaking.
So pastors are finding this.
Yes, and I'm sorry for
you are a pastor.
I'm very sorry to every pastor
you are a
who
pastor.
is listening to me. They have been doing
Have
this.
you done that yourself?
I've never done this myself, but I've witnessed.
You've witnessed this happening?
A friend telling me, oh, pastor connected me with so-and-so. It should not be an issue. It should not be. Because when you do the matchmaking, I will feel like, I have a treasurer who is so good in prayer. I have a maybe praise and worship leader. Then I want them to come together and make a home. That marriage will never last.
So what is the place of the church? Because, you know, our conversation this morning is also tailored around just looking at what the role of the church is. And Because just before you go, Pastor Helen, because just as you're telling me that the church is, quote unquote, also to blame when you talked about the matchmaking, and you juxtaposed that with what the Bible is saying, which is not what the church is doing. So is it what is the role? Because it's supposed to be helping, but then it looks like it's not helping the situation.
All right, let me tell you the truth.
Okay.
When I'm talking about woman travel, I am not talking about believers.
Right.
I am not talking about the non-believers. I'm not talking about the Islams and Hindus and everybody. Woman travel is for everybody.
There's no religion in this.
No, this one is an interdenominational in everybody, because what is ailing a non-believer is ailing a pastor.
Okay.
Apostles are going to their early graves because of the stresses they are going through in marriages. A non-believer is fighting the same issue, and therefore I don't think I need to apologize, because we, Helen included, might have contributed to what we are saying today. Instead of being gods and execute the advice or even the counsel that the heaven requires from the body of Christ, we are finding ourselves facilitating the wrong unions.
I found what you're saying very interesting, Helen, that even pastors, you know why I asked that is because, especially from a Christian perspective, or just talk about any interdenominational, there's always this notion that, pastors, church leaders, talk about sheikhs, whatever religion it is, we always have this notion that their homes, they are the examples. So then, if you have an issue, this is a place of refuge. I just see you disagreeing with that, like, like if you have, let's take a case in point of a church. Let's go with a church.
Yes.
Christians in that regard.
Yes.
So then you will believe that if you are a couple married with children, not children, whatever it is, that anytime you have an issue in your marriage, and we've seen that, especially for women,
Of course.
Yeah, they run to the pastors.
Let me tell you, my dear Doreen, there is a lot of pretense
in the church,
in the institution of marriage, and that's why I didn't
come here.
I didn't come here to speak about the church per se. I'm here for the institution of marriage, bearing in mind pastors comes from marriages. And now what happens is, because now you come to the pastor, you cannot see the bleeding wounds of a pastor.
Because it's supposed to be strong?
Yeah. He has to they have to put on a strong face. Yet, something is burning in their house. Mark you, the enemy doesn't have a problem with the church. He has a problem with the marriage, because everything else originates from
because the church is you and
I. So today I'm not talking about the church. I want to deal with the institution of marriage. And I know when the institution is rectified, we are going to go. We are going to fill the stadiums. We are going to do mega churches. The anointing of pastors, apostles, prophets will just flow.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
Now that you're there, let me just look at this. This is data released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in the 2019 census report that did really put in categories how the rate of divorce cases in this country has increased from 2020, 21, and 2022. In 2020, we're talking about 3,476 were recorded, while in 2021, there were 4,987 cases. Just look at how it's been increasing. In 2022, the case jumped to 5,611. And what KBS also did release was that when you look at how these numbers have been increasing, again, also in terms of percentages, from when the previous census was conducted to now the recent one in 2019, it showed the increase from 14 to 16%. So it shows you that the next census, when it will be conducted, probably we might be seeing an increase. Leave the church out of this.
Yes.
Let's just talk about
this percentage.
Exactly. And what could be leading to this increase? Because by the time you're meeting someone, it is you who has decided.
Of course.
It is you.
You've agreed.
No one. Okay. We agree that in some places there could be coercion, but good number of times in the time that you're living this 21st century, You have just decided.
You have decided.
So what is happening? What is it?
I'll still go back to what I was telling you. The challenges and the problems of all things is the marriage issue.
Yeah, and
where
we are there.
That's where we are.
Yes.
Umelelewa wapi.
Okay.
So, your brought up culture will, in one way or another, affect the kind of a wife you
upbringing, you say?
Yes.
Okay.
It will affect your womanhood or even your wifehood in that marriage.
Right.
Your husbandhood will be affected by the way you are brought up. You know, I'm sorry to say that I was brought up in a marriage, in a family whereby chaotic was the order of the day. Day and night, it was so chaotic. We couldn't find ourselves, even hata sisi tunaingilia kwa sababu sasa.
That's what you saw growing up?
This is my life experience, where I'm brought up from. And that's why I have decided to change all these scenarios so that when my children will be growing up, the environment will be a different one. So that when they will be transiting now to their unions, there shall be a safe landing. Now that they have seen mom and dad doing ABCD, they have experienced a certain environment. So, if at all you've been brought up in such an environment, be sure umeingia tu kwa indoa lakini uko na perspective fulani, ni kama umeingia ukiwa na mtego fulani. If this man dares do what daddy does, I will just leave. You know, kuna
so there's a perception already you
kuna
have.
Kitu ambayo kuna attitude fulani uko nayo na umeingia kwa ndoa nayo, which might not work. So, anytime a man just speaks, because men speaks, I'm telling you, men speaks. So, if your man just speaks as a normal man, because once they get into that house, they are no longer prophets, they are no longer apostles, they are no longer pastors, they are husbands and fathers. Once they speak, you just begin to escalate their voice to the voice of your father. And now you see what you've already calculated the results. So you begin to pack. That's the situation.
Let's stay on this upbringing bit for a moment, just before we take that break. Let's stay there for a moment, because we keep saying that we are a product of where we come from. And a product of our environment.
Yes.
Like there's barely so much you can do about that, because I mean, this is where you were born. This is where you grew up. So then how do you deal with it? You know why I ask that, Helen, is because in a broader perspective of life, just even aside from marriage, you realize that where you have been brought up, your upbringing dictates a lot about the kind of person you will become. Even just how you relate with people around you. Even co-workers, colleagues, people you meet. Escalating to even marriage, it's actually a lot of how you have been brought up as a person. So if this is the case scenario, that someone just came from what we'd call the dysfunctional homes, a lot of violence. Yes, just like also you did mention. So then how do you deal with this? Because at times you don't even realize that it has gotten so much into you that it even is affecting the kind of person you are and becoming. How do you deal with it?
Now, this is where we are coming in as woman travel. I go back there. This is where now we are coming in. We are dedicated now to change what is happening. Because if my child grows up seeing the father slapping the mother, and that's the only way to discipline the mother. So in future, that's what is created in her. Ataelewa vizuri sana, if I make a mistake in my marriage, the only way to be disciplined is through a slap. And that's why you can see many hawana mikono, wengine hawana miguu, wengine macho walitolewa. And sorry to say, most of them, we've buried them. We've lost a lot of lives.
Because this will still be happening, and they will still be staying there.
Yes.
Because culture says you cannot exit.
Now you cannot exit. What about now? If we change what is happening, we change, we bring the change in the environment. If they have adapted to the environment of violence, we tell them there is another environment that God is able to bring. When they adapt this environment, they'll begin to bring up children in God's way. And when they transit to their adulthood, they will not come out of these ways. These are the things woman travel is advocating for, is into to change the environment in our marriages.
I hear you.
So that hata kama imeenda to the extreme, God is going to redeem. There is no marriage that is beyond redemption. That violence can change. Yes.
I hear you. And just talk to me about, the different women you've talked or you have engaged with. I know you also have a plan to go beyond Nairobi, go to different counties. And just before I ask that question, is this just about women only?
It's not about women only.
So men, it's for
actually both. In our last county edition, Embu County, we were at CRT, hosted by Apostle Gideon Boito in Embu County. Actually 40% were men. 40% were men, because marriages consist of a man and a woman.
Exactly. I wanted to get that very clear, because anytime we talk about marriages, we always think it's a woman's affair.
No.
It's a woman's thing.
No.
So this is actually it's inclusive, I should say.
Yes.
It cuts across, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So then I wanted now to ask you. So going by the statistics that we've just seen, what was released by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and we have clearly seen that these numbers continue to increase, they spiral. What issues are you gathering that is causing quite a lot of increase in divorce cases from how you've interacted with?
Okay, we want to stand on the ground to bring back the initial plan of God regarding unions. Now, because it has been violated. It was violated a long time ago. And now this is the sanity we are bringing back to this institution. Do you understand why you need to get into marriage?
Okay.
Now, if you understand the mind of God concerning your unions, hizi vita zote hazitakuwa. For real, hazitakuwa. If you understand that the initial plan of God, the marriage was to be for two people. But how many marriages do really apply the order of two?
Hold it there.
How many marriages?
Hold it there. I'm hearing a lot of papas. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of we need to understand more. We want to take a very quick breather, Helen. We come back. We look at these issues, how to navigate them, and also where does this leave children when we talk about broken homes and broken families, and how we can deal with that.
Yes.
Time for that breather. We circle back with plenty more of this conversation. So stay put.
Kupata maisha kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *816#.
Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani.
Kupata maisha, bonyeza *811 *816#. *811
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
We bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard. Every Tuesday at 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened live. We'll let you know what you missed, even if you were present.
And our goal is to continue supporting our own.
From the latest celebrity buzz,
fashion,
music,
and all manner of youth talents,
the Grapevine cameras rove all week to bring you the latest in the enormous entertainment scene.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m. and the rerun on Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1, baby.
Engage us on Facebook and Twitter, #Grapevine on KBC. Let us know what is happening in your area code, because you know what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine,
then it most probably never happened.
Ain't nobody gotta tell you what you gotta do.
I was part of the team ilitumwa to take out Burhan.
Move in.
Nilikaa for 5 years, nika study the man. All I ask is you let me right my wrongs and give me an opportunity to bring Burhan down for good.
Senior Sergeant Farah, a.k.a. Stingray. Opro Ibrahim, a.k.a. Mongoose. Opro Katana, a.k.a. Panther. PC Kibet, a.k.a. University. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We do this for honor. Yeah. Our loved ones, our family, and our country.
1, 2, 3.
Kama imefika ile ifa kudeliver bidhaa kama kawa kuna maswali.
Your valid company. We continue apace with the day's conversation, still holding court with Pastor Helen Joki of Jesus Victory Center. Now, before we took that break, Helen, we were talking about how purpose is really very important. As you talk about the union, that is marriage, and that you were telling us that that's one of those things that we sort of like miss. We don't sometimes understand how important this is. And just as you respond to that, I also wanted you to tell us, from your interactions, what are you picking as the major problems and issues in marriages?
All right. One of the major issues that I'm picking, Madam, is like we are getting into unions with a long perception or even perspective. We do not take the need of God in your union. Imagine even doa yako, you need to be a God to your husband. This is where simply we are failing. Like now, the way you deal with your husband akikukosea, do you deal with him like vile Mungu deal na wewe ukimkosea? Let's begin from there.
Forgiving, understanding.
If now we take the position of gods in our
But someone would say we are just humans. We have been hurt as well. We feel the pain.
God will not come and occupy that union. He has fused himself in you. Be a God. Represent him fully in that union. When your husband makes a mistake, please see him how God would see him. Okay.
What's the how
practicability?
Oh,
I know you're asking how possible it is. It is because I'm believing God to raise a generation that will not do marriage because of how they feel.
Okay. Leave feelings aside. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Feelings and reactions and what have you. You need to take an action instead of a reaction. Reactions are killing our marriages. When you take an action, it means you simply go to God. God, you gave me this man. You created him. What should I do with what he has done? So this is the practicability of it all.
Okay. So you're saying that if we keep missing this aspect of purpose, as you've constantly alluded to,
we cannot do it.
Yeah. If we keep saying it's because I felt this way. These numbers that you're seeing here, we might
continue to rise.
We might see 6,000, 7,000.
And actually, in the next 10 years, we will not have a single marriage. or even we will have maybe 5%. But marriages will not be working. And that's why now, ukiona kijana wangu amefikisha like 18 years, ameingia campus and what have you, because the father failed in the marriage, he failed completely. Akienda tu campus, atakuwa tu attracted na boys. Because the mother failed, my daughters will be attracted to their daughters. Because they don't see the need of unions. They don't see the need of a kingdom marriage. A kingdom marriage is a marriage that leaves the purpose of God in their unions. This is what I'm advocating. And unless this one actualizes, tutakuwa tu hapa tukipigana, sijui bili imepita, sijui nini imepita. But it is us, parents, who are failing the whole institution. Because if I dare bring my children in a godly way, they will understand there is a position of a father in a marriage. There is no union without a father. My boy will understand from the father's point of view that there is no marriage without a woman. But what are we witnessing? Boy to boy relationship. Girl to girl relationship. Until when? Then we are here blaming the society. The society is not to blame. Let us rectify things from our homes. Yes.
So what I'm gathering from you is that, most of even what we see, it's deep-rooted.
Very deep. Yeah. It's too deep.
Because clearly what you're saying is that then there's a lot that also the institution that is the existing family needs to be doing if we are supposed to be averting some of these cases that you. And there's something else that I also want us to talk about, because you can't talk about unions and marriages and fail to talk about children.
Yes.
Now we are having quite the number of cases of broken families and blended families. Just the other day, if my memory serves me correct, about just this past week, the court did say that also fathers are entitled to their infants. Over time in our law, we've been having that if a union breaks, the individuals are going their separate ways. If it's an infant, then they need to be staying with their mothers. But now the court is even saying even fathers are entitled to that. So depending on whichever way the case might go or will go, if it leans on the father that can take care of this 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, then they'll be left with that. So you realize the impact is so deep to children, or for children I should say, because you can imagine if a marriage is supposed to be, or if it will break, this 5-year-old, this 6-year-old, how are they growing up?
I want you to treat whatever you're seeing as just symptoms of rotten unions that we are having.
Okay.
The cases we are having even in social media, we need to treat them as wanting symptoms of where we are coming from. And I'm telling you the truth. What you're seeing even in court rulings and everything else, it is sending us back to the root. Now, can you tell me what a small girl, maybe an infant of 5 months, being brought up by a father, hatawahi njua kama, how to be a woman, how to be a wife. You see, but these ones are just bad signs. We need to go back to the roots. Let's not go to the divorces, because as for me, I might not deal so much with the divorces, because these are the areas, these are the doors, these are the areas I want to close permanently from our future institution. This is where I am. This is where I'm standing. That in future we shall have 0 separations, 0 divorces, because we shall have people who get into unions to know why they are there. You find that wewe kabla uolewe ulikuwa so passionate, so loving, so charming, all of a sudden umeingia tu kwa ndoa. My friend, ingia kwa depression, ingia kwa all these things. Zimeku-reduce. Now, the institution that was supposed to puff you up, change you, maybe groom you better, get the best out of you, you're the same institution ambayo inakumaliza. Now, we are missing it from the purpose. So, let's not go to the divorce part of it, because I believe if God called me, because I know he called me, in the next 5 years, we shall have reduced cases of divorces and separations. This is what I am for. And I'm telling God, no, God, if you called me to this institution, there must be tangible results. And I thank God when we did the first county meeting, Women Travel in Embu County CRT, hosted by Apostle Gideon, 11 marriages were restored. So seeing what God is doing, for me, is so fulfilling, and I am positive that in the next 5 years, we shall now give back the glory of marriages, because it's no longer there. I had my boss telling me, marriage is a scam. They are calling it scams. Why? Because the values of a good marriage no longer exist.
Yeah, and it's
what actually, scams.
It's even become a norm to say it's fallacy, it's a scam. And this is, okay.
It's too traumatizing. It's really traumatizing.
I get you. I also want to get your stand on something. And this again also in regards to what the courts have just recently ruled, that having children together and staying together in what would call come we stay, they're not qualified as marriages. You as a pastor, you have your standing, and just earlier on in this conversation you did tell us of how the institution of marriage comes about, how God instituted it, and this was not one of the ways. So from where you sit, do you think this is one of those reasons that lead to quick separations? Why I ask that is because there are some quarters who would argue that if there's no binding, then it's easier anytime there's issues. And there are other quarters that would argue if one wants to leave, whether there's a binding or not, they will just leave. When I talk about binding, I talk about perhaps getting married, dowry paid, if it's a wedding and all that, basically. So, what's your standing on that? That
is Helen.
Yes,
this is Helen's position. I would simply say that when God created man, alimtoa rib. So, if you find your rib, that's all what you need for the purpose of God to remain in your union. Number two, them that are finding themselves now, they are finding the purpose of God. Na walikuwa washachukua na washa, you don't have to get out. Go look for a husband. Go look for a wife. The Bible says, I think in the book of Philippians, I can't remember the chapter in the first, that if one of the spouses realizes themselves and get back to the purpose of God regarding their unions, the children they get are purified, and their spouses get purified and consecrated through the stand of one spouses. And therefore, I might not be able to reach two spouses. I'm targeting to get one. If I get a woman, and the woman realizes this is the position of God in my marriage, and I'm occupying the position, then they will be able to align everything in their marriage. And now the things that we are seeing, the signs, the symptoms of dark marriage will just be scrapped away. Pole, 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 pole. Now what we are experiencing in courts, ni sisi tunawapelekea. They don't come for us. And therefore, if we rectify, they will not have anything to say.
So there's a lot
we shall have dealt with the source. Mark you, whatever is happening in courts is just ni dalili tu ya kile tunafanya.
So you're saying that there's a lot of work that we
hapa kwa root
that we need to be doing. Right now, so talk to me now about them. Prayer movement for marriages. You began in Nairobi, you are going to counties, and I liked what you're saying, that this is not just about women. Right now when we're having conversations, especially about this kind of conversations, we keep saying that a lot of focus has been put on the woman, sometimes so much at the expense,
Okay, the reason is to why
of the boy child of the man. So I like that you are including all genders. Let's come and converse about these issues.
Now let me tell you the truth. Even when God was reaching out to us, he had to use a woman. He used Mary. Women are faceted in a way they can be able to accommodate anything, and they can be able to, to allow God to use them. Imagine just allowing you to be used of the Holy Ghost and you give birth to a child. It's amazing. It's a mystery. And therefore God this season has decided to use a woman to rectify and redeem marriages. I am aware, because I'm a pastor, we interact with so many pastors, so many men of God, so many non-believers. I'm a friend to all, but with boundaries. Now, I've heard the cries. Lakini sio yenye imenifanya niingie kwa travel. Hapana. But I'm traveling with practicability of what is happening in the ground, because I've ever been there. By the way, when God called me to woman travel, my marriage healed. So I don't speak from a point of judgment. I don't speak from a point of pain. I'm completely whole. I am healed. I cannot remember when we had wrangles in my marriage. God healed me and told me this is a sign that marriages won't be healed. So I have a sign. And on the first day we did our physical meeting in Embu County, marriages were restored. And therefore, I am planning to do meetings from one county to another. We did the Embu Woman Travel, that's my mother county, nimezaliwa Embu. So we are planning to do another Woman Travel in Makueni County. We are going to Kericho. Then in the month of May or June. April, we are going to Makueni. And therefore, I'm feeling like, and this one is not a church thing. This one is for everyone that is in marriage. You either come out of a marriage, divorced or separated, you are wailing in your marriage, anybody you are anticipating to get into your future marriage, these are your meetings. We are accommodating everyone. And when we heal this institution, any other channel will open and flourish freely without struggles.
I hear you.
Yeah. So visions and dreams, anointings and ministries are being sabotaged from the institution of marriage. It's a sad state of affairs. And anytime I've been doing these meetings online, and anytime, by the way, anytime I come live, and even when I hold the meeting, even in Embu County, at some point when ministering, my heart or even my spirit connects with what God is feeling concerning the union. And all what I can do, Madam Don, all what I can do is just to shed tears. When I get to know the deep things that are happening in our unions, and we expect Doreen to show up so strong, yet you fought a rejection battle in your marriage the whole night, a depression, you ukona to tembe to kushukisha pressure. You know, it's so saddening, because God did not intend it to be that way.
You know, you just said something that I realized it's quite a lot happening in our society that we don't really talk about so much. So, rejection.
Yeah.
Rejection in marriages.
It is there.
And this comes from extended family.
Exactly. And you're supposed to.
So that's why they say that when you're thinking of marriage, you're not marrying the person, you're equally marrying the family.
You're marrying the society, my friend. The society, you're marrying the society. But now, once two of you get to understand why are we getting in this institution, it conquers all. The other society members all adjust.
Will adjust.
But now, if one member doesn't understand that you're a too beautiful girl, sijui akaona mother of my kids,
we have like 4 minutes. I don't know. It's interesting that when you talk about such kind of, you know, of when you have these conversations, they just never seem to end. There's really quite a lot to discuss. But I wouldn't want us to exit without talking about the structure. Talk to me about how you are doing this, because having to incorporate both genders, also taking cognizance of the fact that issues are different from what a woman would suffer or what would go through with marriage is sort of like entirely different from what a man, much as they're together, because of also how we are created, how we are formed, and just our different genders. So how does this structure look like as you reach out to this persons, as you reach out to those in marriages, those wanting to get to these unions? How is it looking like?
It is a national campaign for marriage, let me call it. It's a national campaign for marriage, and again, it's a global thing, because what is happening in Kenya is happening in South Africa, happening in the whole world. Now, what there is, when God created a man, he gave him a helper, and therefore, a helper is always stronger than the helped. Now, we are investing so much in a woman.
I didn't know that. The helper is stronger than the one being helped.
If I tell you come and help me lift this one.
I'm giving the helping hand because you're supposed to be doing it.
No. You are the strongest.
Oh yeah.
You are the pillar for that man. So if I understand, if I be able to transform your perception regarding the union, that marriage will stand. Okay? And this is what we are doing. The structures are into place. We are talking with the head of counties. These are the people we are planning the meetings with. It's not a person, it's not religious. So we are dealing with the MCAs, the county assembly, our watu. Ndio wanatusaidia kupanga hii mikutano.
So you're bringing on board the leaders, political leaders for
everyone. Everyone is involved in this thing. Hii kitu lazima tushike wote. We have to enjoy marriages. The glory must come back to our unions. And I'm not resting until it happens. I have given my life to it because I'm not looking to a situation whereby my daughter will ask me, Mom, where were you when this happened? Ati nikiwa tu na 8 years nasikia mtoto wangu ameoa msichana. It won't be so saddening. It won't be a sad state of affair. So that's why I'm given out to this. Yeah.
This is why your heart is
my heart is
sent out to this.
Yes, I'm sold out to Woman Travel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the next county is you're going to Makueni.
Yeah.
How has the reception been to the different places you have been so far?
It has been overwhelming.
Taking it.
Men came in large numbers. 40% of the congregation was men. How we accommodate men? We've been in every physical meeting we've been having different county representatives. In Embu we had 15 different county representatives, and therefore in every county we always have one person praying for the county. That's how we accommodate all the counties. I'm trusting God that when we'll be going to Makueni, we shall have at least 20 counties represented.
Do you track back? It's one thing to have the meetings, pray together, make sure unions are restored. They're receiving it very positively, as you say, but you realize issues sometimes they just would never end, or they would come in different forms, shapes and sizes. So do you track back to see how, okay, it was good, it's been restored?
It has been good. Thank you so much. Now, what happens is that every time I do the meeting on a Saturday, it happens on Saturdays. On Sunday, I'm always in the same place. Now I'll have one-on-one with the people who maybe their marriages were healed. Maybe I listen out to where I can help, so I listen to them. Then we can track with each other through the pastor, through their pastor.
All right.
Yeah.
So you really you go
I
all out.
Yes.
That's actually what I was asking. The follow-up.
Yes.
Because sometimes you realize things are done, it's good enough, but then you come back 3 years later and you
find the same problem. That's why now we are having every representative from counties. Now we connect them with the people that needs my attention, needs the healing. And the therapists, of course. So we connect from there. The channel continues. When it gets back to me and needs my attention, I go back. Like now I'm hearing that Embu is calling us back. We do the second edition. Now it will depend with the numbers of the cases that needs to be attended to.
I hear you. So as we wrap up, Helen, what is this that you would want society to know? What is this that you want people to know? What is it that you want those in unions, in marriages, those intending to get to these spaces to know?
I am here even to say to the nation of Kenya, God wants the marriages to know that ministries are not in the pulpit. The real ministry is in your marriage. When every one of us will stick to this, that my ministry is my marriage, then you find the place of God in that marriage, then you move. Yes.
I like what you've said. You know why? Because the speaker who said, if your ministry cannot work at home, don't bring it to the
preaching.
pulpit.
Please
leave it
stop
alone.
Preaching. And there are people who are like, I slap my wife in the morning and then I go to preach. What are you preaching? Go back home.
And you know when you say pulpits, does not mean like the pastor.
Yes.
Pulpit is your area that you represent.
Your area.
So if it can't work in your house, just let it be.
You can't be a leader anywhere if you cannot lead one woman, one man.
And children.
And children.
Okay.
And they are not more than 10. Okay. Then you stand to be a leader. Leads who? Then please, this institution must come back to sanity by the grace of God.
I hear you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Pastor Helen, for your time and your valuable inputs into this conversation.
Yes.
Highly appreciated.
All right.
I have been speaking to Pastor Helen Njoki of Jesus Victory Center. Women Travail Movement for Marriages is what has formed center of our conversation, just also taking into account the different court rulings as far as matters of marriages and family is concerned. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately, good morning, Kenya, from me and on behalf of the entire team. Asante sana. Till tomorrow. Good morning.
Hakuna gasi wako nayo hapa. Nikukula mshahara ya bure tu. Mimi manager nafanya gasi ya manager na bucha niosha vyombo.
Unajua mimi hata mama yangu aliambiwa alisa akili peke yake. Kitu ninaisha mama kaya na zinda kitu tisa nini hapa hivi.
Ni nini mbaya na wewe?
Ita ambulance. Ita basi mapoto. Ndio paka tukutuku.
Kama ulikuwa na miradi na sisi yake. Sote tufukuza sisi tukienda tufuate na amani.
Ya.
Ni nini?
Kumbe hiki kitu ni TV tu gaki.
Inakaa hivi wewe hizi TV labda ikuwe.
Si unaona hata ile mesa wanasomea taarifa iko hapa ndani.
There you are, Miguel. Are you hiding from me? He made a fool out of me. I thought he was my boyfriend, but no. He was going out with one of my friends as well, and at the same time.
What? No. Sorry, Marisol, but it's hard for me to believe what you just said.
Well, since we're talking about the past and about that missing boy, if my calculations are correct, that boy would actually be about the same age as you are.
Ruben, I honestly don't know why we can't be friends. Just like we used to be when we were young and when we didn't used to fight a lot and we could hang out together. Ruben, I really want to be your friend.
Put your rage aside and forget the rancor. Because it will end up destroying you as a whole, darling. I beg you.
Hey, you're here too? If you personally go talk to her about it, she will change her mind. Because all of this happened because you fired her.
She said she's not coming back. So what can I do?
I'm sorry, Liam. I don't want to have anything to do with Immortal, so I have to find a job as soon as possible and have some stable work so my family won't worry.
I'm taking my annual leave. I won't come to the office, but I'll send in my articles. If you need anything, call me anytime.